Dude, it gets crazy out here. I think San Diego just became like the official like most expensive place to live, right?
I don't know. I haven't been tracking that.
I think I just saw that in the news in the last month that San Diego is the most expensive place in the country to live.
I would say, yeah, there's got to be.
Certain areas for sure. Like La Jolla, if you're going to go down to La Jolla or something.
Oh, yeah.
But even downtown, I think like a one-bedroom downtown, or not even a one-bedroom, but the studio apartment, you know, where it's all one room, goes for like $3,000.
My neighbor...
That's crazy.
Across the street, he got out as a staff sergeant. He was an Amtracker.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got out, you know, like took early retirement or whatever. But anyways, he bought the house across the street, and he got it when there was a little bit of a dip in the market.
Nice. It
wasn't cheap, but it was a dip. Him and his girlfriend, they renovated the place. It looks like an Instagram model house. Like, you know, paintings on the wall and everything is perfect and very Southern California hip, cool. And then he rented it out and he traveled for like a year.
Oh, really?
$39.50 a month was what they were paying him. And that was a good deal. So he was making $39.50 a month on the house, and then they went to, I think they started in Thailand. And they both can work remotely.
Yeah.
So they were like Thailand, and then to Turkey, and just all over the place, you know, former Soviet republics, Germany, France, all that stuff.
Wow.
And but yeah, $39.50. It's a regular house in a regular working class neighborhood, you know.
Yeah, $3,000 I think is like the base price for like a 2-bedroom house now, you know, for rent wise.
Yeah.
Unless it's like in a kind of shitty spot. You know,
yeah.
I think that's kind of, you're going to be paying at least that much, like $3,000 in most areas around here. That's a cool opportunity though, to get out and go travel around. Yeah. That's what a lot of people want to do, but most people don't, you know?
It takes balls, man. I saw them going through the process. Mm-hmm. Like he would call me and be like, hey, I can't get he was installing new sinks and stuff in the bathroom, and he's like, I can't get the pipes to line up, they still leak or whatever. I go over and help him here and there. But I mean, this dude worked. Like every minute he wasn't at work or working, he was fixing that house to bring it to that condition.
Yeah.
Know? And it's nice. It looks like a hotel room house. You know, that's kind of how he laid it out.
So now he's like enjoying the fruit of his labor.
Yeah, and now they're back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they got tired of traveling, and he was like, "Yeah, thought we'd move back in and work from here for a while."
That's cool. Yeah, I interviewed a guy. I was on the Mew with him, and he did a podcast. He did a podcast like way back, Cameron Langland, and he traveled. He got out. He was a staff sergeant, recon guy. I think he was a air traffic controller. Then he went recon. And he got out and he got on an app, some kind of couch surfer app. I can't remember what it's called. And was going to let someone stay at his place. You know, like, okay, I'm going to be part of the app. If someone's traveling, I'll let them stay at my place. He let a dude stay there, and they became like super good friends and ended up getting an RV and traveling around the United States first, all over. And then he dropped his buddy off. And his buddy was in a wheelchair too, which was crazy. So he was helping him with all this stuff and everything like that, this guy. And then he started going through all the states in Mexico and all through South America. And for 2 years, he said he drove around in this RV just all over Mexico and South America, had like more than 60 different people that stayed with him because he was using the app the whole time. So he was letting people ride in the RV for a while. Because he was a diver with recon, he went out to the Galapagos Islands twice. And then the second time he was there, he got a job for like a month or two doing underwater dive tours. So he paid his way to stay there. Yeah. I was like, dude, that's crazy. You know, like that's such an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, and that's a life, you know, that's a lifetime in that. It's weird though when you think about that, because you know, we were just talking about background, right?
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, like I'm gonna speak at my niece's ROTC ball in southern New Mexico next week.
Oh, cool.
You know, people ask, oh, yeah, you were in the service. But it seems like a different lifetime.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like I talk to old guys, Vietnam vets, World War II guys, and I'm always asking them stuff and trying to learn and grow as a person. And when they would say, "Oh, that was a different lifetime," I didn't get it until just recently. I'm starting to understand what they mean.
Yeah.
Like you don't even recognize yourself. Like who was that dude?
Yeah.
10 years ago or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's life changing, right? When you get out, you have to become a different person.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, like if that was it for you, if you're so absorbed with it, that can't be good for you when you get out.
No, you have to be able to. I still have issues like dealing with non-military or law enforcement or, that type of people. Mm-hmm. I went to a funeral not too long ago, and one of the guys was a prison guard, and we like clicked.
Yeah.
Right away. The mentality, the thought process. But I still do have some like, man, what a bunch of morons. Don't they realize there's more to life than, partying and football? It's just weird because I think because in the military or in any type of greater than yourself employment, you tend to see the world in a bigger picture. Like, okay, this affects this.
Oh,
and
for
this
sure.
affects that. And these things are important. They affect us down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely have a better understanding of like geopolitics. I won't say you're an expert or anything like that, but you can appreciate a lot of guys have a peek behind the curtain. They have clearances that allow them to see stuff. Not that there's like some kind of weird state secret out there or anything like that, but you at least get the information of what's actually happening in areas. Like we see what's happening in like Syria on the news, whereas before you could go on Sipper and just read about it and know what's actually happening.
Right.
How many times have you watched the news and seen something that they're talking about that's complete bullshit because you were there or something like that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the whole weapons of mass destruction stuff, the guy used them on his own people. He used the chemical agents.
Yeah.
We saw the remainders of those agents, know. So when they say, "Oh, it didn't exist," well, it did exist.
Yeah.
It may not have been
to the level that they were.
Yeah, it may not have been to their sales pitch, but it was there, and he was using them, and he did sell them to Syria or transfer them to Syria or whatever. We saw all of that. So,
and people found stuff.
Oh yeah, but yeah, there was stuff there. He used them on the Kurds.
Yeah, they said there's people that are saying that nothing was found. There was stuff found, but not to the level like they were talking, because they were talking about like rolling, like laboratories or weapon, shit like that.
And who knows, how much of the story is. There's so much stuff out there nowadays that you're like, that was all bullshit. Things that we believed as kids. The food pyramid.
Oh yeah.
Look at the food pyramid. This thing was sold to us. Every elementary school in the country. It was on billboards. It was everywhere. The food pyramid. It was, the healthy doctors came up with this thing where you should eat a lot of bread and barely any meat, or whatever.
Because it would cause heart problems.
And that turned out to be completely ass backwards.
Yeah.
So it makes you things like that make you think, holy crap, what else do I believe that's complete fucking bullshit?
Yeah.
No,
yeah, I get it. There's a lot of stuff, man. And that's why it makes me mad, because when you've been in the military and you've worked, especially because you were a sergeant major, so you got to speak with higher ranking people or people even in civilian side, people that are in like local government and stuff like that. That was just kind of part of the gig. What a lot of people don't realize that are young is that adults are idiots too. A lot of these are the same people they went to school with.
Yes.
Some of them were morons, and nothing changed.
Yeah, they're still stupid. They're just older stupid.
Yeah, they're just 20 or 30 years older. They may not have your best interest at heart. So it kills me when people are always like advocating for more control with the government and stuff like that, and just more, I'm all about I'm more libertarian, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Like there should be obviously police and all the, maintain good order and discipline or whatever within the populace. Like there shouldn't be crimes running rampant. What's going on in California is a train wreck.
Yeah, no, it's complete moronic. It's stupid.
Yeah, priorities are way messed up. Like instead of like fixing the homeless issues, the drug issues, and stuff like that, they'll worry about dumb stuff. They'll worry about like they're going to put in license plate reading cameras. Here in San Diego, that's something that just passed. Like they're or painting a sidewalk a rainbow color or something like that. That's what really frustrates me. I'm like, dude, quit spending money on dumb shit. Fix the potholes. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like clean the streets up so that we're not embarrassed. You shouldn't be going down to like the harbor here in San Diego and seeing people smoking meth. I was walking through North Park the other day in the morning. I went and got coffee and I was shooting photos. And as I was walking back towards my place, there was a dude fucking smoking his pipe right there on the street, on the sidewalk. And no shit, as I'm walking up to him, he like blows out. He's like, oof. Hey, can I get $1? As he blows a hit out. I'm like, fuck no, dude. I'm like, get the fuck away from me.
Okay, so this is how societies collapse into like anarchy, right? And I'll give you a little tiny example. So we went to Vegas this weekend. My oldest boy got married. Super cool, man. We did the whole, pink Cadillac, Elvis Chapel, the whole thing. It was freaking badass, right?
Yeah.
But afterwards, we're doing the dinner part at this Italian joint. And so we're waiting for our table. It's pretty crowded. Mm-hmm. It's Vegas, baby. They got to crank people through there. Everything is expensive as hell. Vegas used to be awesome because everything was cheap. That way you had money for gambling. Now everything's expensive.
I've only been to Vegas really once where I stayed and like went to the bars and gambled. The bars were crazy expensive. Yeah. But I always heard that though, that like the food's super cheap, the rooms are super cheap. Is that not?
No, it is. They rape you every chance they get. And it's really bad. Because it used to be like when we went to Vegas in the 80s and my cab driver was telling me a story that his cab driver had told him when he first moved there. Yeah. That his wife never let him eat at home. And I'm like, what are you, some kind of foreigner? What's the deal here? Yeah. And he's like, nah, man, it's cheaper for me to eat a steak out in town than it is for me to cook at home. Because you get like the $7.99 all-you-can-eat meal or whatever. That's my dinner tonight, my lunch tomorrow, yada, yada. It's not like that anymore.
I know they had F1 there just recently. And
yeah, they were just cleaning up the streets from that. It was traffic. But anyway, so we're waiting for our table, and it's a large group. So it's kind of one of those deals where, when you go to dinner with a large group, it's always going to be kind of a disaster. Yeah. There's just too many people, and the industry's not set up for 20 people at one table. Yeah. So anyway, we're in the bar, and this is the point. Anyways, this guy comes in, and he looks pale, average-looking guy, and he starts to like faint. So my initial reaction is, oh, here comes another fucking scam. This guy's trying to scam me. So I'm ordering drinks and stuff from the bar, and I grab my drinks, and I'm like, hey, you got a problem here, and I'm leaving. Yeah. Right? I'm out. My oldest son's the same way. He's like, hope that fucker don't die. He's ready to leave, right? And but his father-in-law is standing right next to the dude, and the dude kind of halfway collapses on him. And so he starts, checking him, He's a retired Army guy. Mm-hmm. So he's like, and he calls 911 and, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, not my problem, right? And so my other son-in-law's helping him. And I grab my shit and go back to the table. I'm like, yeah, the dude's he's probably going to ask for money or something. Mm-hmm. Turns out the guy had low blood sugar and he was going down hard. The paramedics come and Chris, my buddy, he freaking turns him over to the paramedics and they do all the medical handoff, high five and all that. And I'm like, man, I'm glad you were there.
Yeah.
That fucker would have died if it was me.
You're like, get up, bitch.
Yeah, I was like, this fucker's gonna ask me for $1. Fuck him. But that's the problem. I'm a pretty helpful dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty open minded to helping other people, and I'm all hippied out and shit. But this nonsense that's going on makes you cynical.
People got to help themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right around the corner is like a AT&T building or something like that, and they have some bushes and everything over there, and it's basically become like a mini homeless encampment, and it's just full of trash, and it's what's crazy is there's literally at the end of the street there's 2 schools. There's a high school and there's a middle school over here, and then up 2 blocks over there's an elementary school. And you just see like needles. I found 2 needles out here and throwing them away before. You have prostitutes out here. Like it's a wild spot sometimes, man. I get why people don't like walking around out here at night and stuff, but
when I was driving in here, I remembered. I'm like, oh yeah, this is an interesting part of town. I forgot about that,
dude. I was listening. So I always work. I sit by the window when I work. I sit at the table over there and I have the window open. And where I'm at is I'm between the freeway. For those that don't know, I'm between 2 freeways. I'm like a mile away from each one, basically, in the middle. And I'm off a main road. And because of that, the fire and police departments are always going by because they're going to the one freeway or to the other. It's a transit area for them. Sometimes I will hear a shit ton of sirens, and then I'll hear the police helicopter. And I'm like, So then I throw on the police scanner, just to see if it's something around here. Because, last year, a kid got shot like 100 yards that way. A 14-year-old kid got shot by like some gangbanger, got killed. And then the other day, like not even 2 weeks ago, I heard all these sirens and I hear the police, the helicopter, and I'm like, oh, something's going on. Let me turn on the police scanner, which is an app I use on my phone. And I was some dude had shot a gun at his girlfriend or something like that, and they're looking for him. And I'm sitting here listening to it. And I'm like, oh shit, like this is like a manhunt going on, And then I hear the shots fired, and 3 cops smoked this dude because he went to go pull the gun out on him. Yeah, I was like, holy shit. And it was probably 2 miles that way.
I don't. Yeah, it's just savagery, man. It's crazy. That's the other thing that irritates me. Like you'll go to these pretty nice areas, around here, like in San Diego. You can go to some pretty high-end places on accident. And these people live in this false sense of security.
Yeah.
And then they're all the people that are against common sense. Well, you would assume that. I don't know that as a fact. But most of those people are the ones that are against common sense, law enforcement, and, things like that. And you're like, the entire reason you can live this carefree life, where you have your face buried in your damn phone while you're walking down the street, blocking everybody else's walkway, is because of men like us that do the things that you don't like, that create the atmosphere that allow you to live like in this fantasy land you live in.
Yeah. Most people just want to live, man. Like you don't want cops to be, you don't want like some authoritarian group out here just harassing people every day, but you also want to be able to walk down the street and not worry about some dude smoking fentanyl right there.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't want to have to worry about somebody grabbing your wife's purse and then you got to freaking beat the guy's ass or get your ass beat. Either way, it just interrupts your flow,
Sometimes I wonder how many cops are on duty at one time, because you think San Diego has like over 1 million people in it. Yeah. Like I wonder how many actual cops are on the street like right now. I bet it's less than 30. And I'm talking city police. I'm not talking county and
because you got all the
CHP and
the other little cities that connect.
Well, I'm talking about just San Diego, like San Diego proper. Not Oceanside, not all that stuff.
Yeah, no, there's got to be a couple hundred at least.
No way. Not on duty right now? No.
There'd have to be.
Maybe that are total that work all 3 shifts. But I mean, how many cops are on the street right now, driving around? There's probably, I bet there's 3 or 4 per, like 3 or 4 in Chula Vista, 3 or 4 in City Heights, 3 or 4 in, You know, I bet it's like that.
Oh, and then you got the guys that are, working the desk and finishing things up. And I don't know, because that'd be interesting to look it up and try to figure it out.
Yeah, because we say we need more cops a lot, but I mean, what does that actually mean? You know, I mean, we need more cops, but how many do we have? And I wonder what the police, how many they think we need. You know, if they say, hey, we get 10 people on shift per shift, it'd be better if we had 14.
Right.
You know, I'm sure that's out there somewhere, but
and those are the guys that ask. Like, hey, you guys digging the trenches, you let me know what you need. And then we'll go from there.
I think the tide is shifting back to where we're going to start funding. I don't like that they're like, well, we just won't get more police. We'll put up license plate readers. I don't like that.
No, I don't like any of that. That one world government, cameras on the things. I don't like any of that. One reason is I hate stoplights. They're like,
do you run a lot of stoplights?
I run the fuck out, but I don't run them per se. But I'm not an idiot, right? So what is the purpose of a stop sign or a stoplight? Is to allow other traffic to transit through that intersection safely, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm sitting there for 90 seconds and there's no opposing traffic because the damn light's on a timer, I'm not a fucking zombie. I got a brain. I can look, I can determine that there's no opposing traffic, and I can safely transit through the intersection. Mm-hmm. I don't need this dot to tell me when I can do it.
Yeah.
Same thing with stop signs. If I'm in the middle of Hoboken County and there's not another car for 500 yards in any direction, I don't need to stop at this intersection. I can see that no one's coming, so I'm just going to keep going.
So I'm from Indiana originally, and that's kind of when you're out in the country, you kind of roll through stop signs. You roll, you slow down when the corn is down. If the corn's up, then you got to stop and kind of look, because then it's a little bit more dangerous. But when the corn
you don't
want
to get smacked by a semi full of corn.
Yeah, for sure. What was I going to say? Yeah, I thought red light cameras became illegal. But I think it's only certain areas have deemed them illegal, because if you go up to like La Jolla, they still have red light cameras there. And I totally forgot about it until I was actually there last night. And after I went through the intersection, like 10 seconds later, someone else flew through it, and I saw the flash. And I was like, what was that flash? It took me a second to realize. I was like, what was that flash? And I realized it was a camera taking a picture of their license plate.
So there was a point, I don't know when it was, and this was, things I heard, little snippets on the radio, on the news years ago. But the company that had produced some of the ones we had in San Diego County had timed them for like 1/10 of a second too soon.
Oh, really?
On purpose. Because obviously the more people that run a red light at $450 a time, because I had to pay it before.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, this was 10 years ago, so it's probably $1,000 now. Who knows?
I didn't know it was that much.
It was $450, and you had to pay like $35 and go to like traffic school, 2 hours online or whatever.
That's crazy.
But they had timed the thing just a hair too fast, but it was done on purpose because it generates a lot of income. So you can catch people that are, because technically, according to the book, as long as your front wheels are across the limiting line when the light turns red, you're still good to pass through the intersection.
Yeah, because they don't want you hanging around in the intersection.
Or slamming, to a stop in the intersection, and then opposing traffic whacks you.
Yeah.
But I only remember that because I had to retake the driving test when I moved from New Mexico to California. I don't know why I got a California driver's license. I think...
Well, you have to after a year.
Well, you don't if you're in the military.
Well, yeah.
But right. My thing was I didn't know that. I'm a young PFC, Lance Corporal, and my shit's expiring. And I didn't know I could just hang on to it and be good. So I had to take the test.
Yeah.
So I got the book, and you start reading the book, and I'm like, I've been driving forever. I know how to do this. Then I start reading the book. I'm like, holy shit, they got like lanes for bicycles.
It's super technical.
Yeah, like what the hell is that? Why would they have a lane for a bicycle? Bicycles are what you play with in the backyard or in the cul-de-sac. You don't ride that shit down the road.
Yeah.
So we had to learn all that stuff. But I remembered those things. I guess they were questions on the test or whatever.
The bike lanes out here in San Diego are crazy because they've been adding them all over the place, and you see nobody on them. You know, again, over here in North Park, I just saw something yesterday. San Diego is actually the worst city for parking in the country right now, too. Over here in North Park, they took out 300 and something parking spaces to put in a bike lane that almost nobody uses. Like, you can sit out there, and everyone was complaining so much, they put up, instead of like bringing back some of the parking, and it's right through an area that's all restaurants and businesses. So all those parking for all these businesses gone to put in a bike lane. And they put up a little counter to count how many bikes have used the bike lane. So people to prove, and it's still like super low. It's like a crazy low number.
Well, of course. It's like, what is it? I don't know the numbers, and these aren't exact. But you know how we pay all this road tax money, right? Gas tax, dude. Road tax, tags for your car, all this crap, right? And some ungodly amount goes to mass transit. So these aren't exact numbers, but for an example, over half of that money goes to, pay the unions that take care of the freeway. Mm-hmm. Okay. Makes sense. Those guys are freaking hard workers and they keep the freeway, whatever. Then a large portion goes to mass transit. And something like, at the time I was listening to it, like 15% of the people used the buses, the trains, the mass transit, right? But something like 40% of the money went to that. Yeah. So, hey guys, people don't use that shit.
I could see using more mass transit stuff if it wasn't like dangerous. I mean, people use it a lot out here. I do see people getting on off the buses, students, older people, worker, stuff like that. But you hear from a lot of people that it's just like they don't feel safe on the train. They don't feel safe on the trolley or the bus station because there's these fucking crackheads that are going around. And, you don't know if someone's going to stab another homeless person because they got their own beef going.
If you don't mind the smell of urine and weed, ride the bus. Like
I used to as a kid.
I used to ride the bus. I didn't get off. One time I got on the bus in Alameda, California, and I was in Oakland, and I missed my stop. Yeah. And I rode that bus for 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours. I went through the entire city to get back to where I needed to be because it was a big loop. Yeah. And there's just areas you just don't get off. Yeah. Especially in Oakland. If you're a white guy in Oakland, there's certain areas that you are not allowed to be at. If you even venture in there, we didn't make it 10 seconds.
Sanchez was from Oakland. Remember him from Salt Chuck? He was the chief for a little bit for Salt Chuck. He was from Oakland. He was saying that it was pretty shitty.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid, I remember getting on. This is like maybe right before my freshman year in high school. I would get on like the city bus and take it downtown to the library to use the internet because we didn't have internet, and it was like this is still like early internet. GeoCities was probably still a thing, kind of deal, like way back in the day. Way back in the day, meaning like 97. Back in the 1900s, if you will. This was when I did it. It was before there were cell phones and internet. Yeah.
You had to read the sign. Yeah. Buy your ticket. You actually had to give them money.
Well, that's like you had if you wanted to go to a store or something, you didn't know where it was at. You had to go to the phone book, look it up. Yep. It's on this street. The phone book had a little map in it. Yep. And then you're like, okay, it's in this block. It's somewhere here, so I got to park somewhere in this area. Yep. You had to know how to get to places. Yeah. Now, I mean, like I just turn on my GPS all the time for stuff because like I use Waze and it tells you where the cops are and stuff.
Well, I drive here without GPS now. Yeah. And only because I challenge myself to do so.
Yeah. I do that sometimes, yeah, when I go downtown.
I remember, it's real tricky when I get off the freeway. You got to do that loop, and it appears like the first turn is where you need to go, but you don't. You go to the second turn, and then you still got to make another right,
It's funny. We're old men now. Back in my day.
Oh, dude, let me tell you the old man story.
Go ahead.
So we're in Vegas, and we got there. So we drive out there, and we have all the Thanksgiving traffic on the way out there. Weirdest thing ever. It's desert. Mm-hmm. And it's flat for as far as you can see in every direction. And then there's just 2 lanes of freaking taillights through the desert going 45 miles an hour.
What highway is that?
We were on the 215. Then you get on the, I don't know, whichever one runs out to Vegas. I think it's a 215, right?
Okay.
Barstow, Vegas.
I don't remember.
But anyways, but it's weird. I'm like, okay, this can't be reality because we're all going the same direction. So if the guys in the front would just pick up the pace, the rest of us could get going.
Yeah.
So anyways, we drive out there, and we show up, and this was kind of on the fly. My son was going to get married later, and it was too expensive, and he was like, "This is stressing me out, dude. This is like fucking napkins and shoes and stupid shit that I got to worry about." He goes, "Fuck it, let's go to Vegas. We'll do the Cadillac. I was going to pay for Elvis to, but they were like, that's enough Vegas. We got enough Vegas.
It's a little too much Vegas.
Yeah, that was over the line for them, right? That was going to be the gift. But
funny.
So anyways, we show up, and so you're kind of, you're road tired.
Yeah.
And all you do on the road is eat crap and drink, coffee, energy drink, soda pop, whatever. Mm-hmm. So your body's all jacked. We show up, and then, of course, we start drinking. Like, and then we drink into the night, and, it was kind of like a bachelor party thing, but not really. We're just fucking hanging out. Mm-hmm. So we're all... Anyways, next day, I got to get a workout in, because I worked out before I left. I did pull day. No, I did burpees. I did burpee day that morning. I got up real early. I knew it was going to be a long day, so I'm like, I'm going to get my burpees in, get my, my push squat workout in, and then I'll drive. And then tomorrow, between drunken hangover, I can get another one. So anyways, I find the gym in the hotel, and the old part's coming. So I find it. I'm like, all right, cool. And I go back, but I'm like, if I leave, I won't come back. It's complicated. You got to take an elevator and go this way and show your key card and all this crap, right? So I'm like, dude, I'm gonna do it right now. So I'm just like this, actually.
Yeah. Hang
my shirt up. Some fucking moron standing there on his phone underneath the pull-up bar. So, you do the polite thing. You stand there and be like, give him about 45 seconds. Like, hey, man, you mind if I work in with you on the pull-up bar? Oh, yeah, no problem. So he moves over here to be on his phone. All right, cool. You've done my way.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, all right. They got a bunch of machines in there. And there's a couple of little girls in there. Little girls, probably in their 30s, 20s or 30s. Younger women. And they're like, they have their workout outfit, right? Yeah. That was sprayed on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a sprayed on workout outfit. So they're covering just the parts that are required to be covered to not be nude in public or whatever. But even the parts that are covered that are not necessary are just kind of sprayed on. It's like a yoga pants with all the parts cut off. So, and they're doing the little machines and stuff. And there's these 3 guys in there, younger Asian dudes, and they're freaking jacked. And they're training. Yeah. Right? And I'm like, all right, cool. I can avoid the gym ladies taking pictures of themselves. I'll use the pull-up bars. I'll do some farmer's walks and some shrugs and some deadlift. And I'll superset it, and I'll be out of here in 45 minutes. So doing my thing. And you know how you get the groove? So I had set a goal, like 100 pull-ups in whatever method necessary to get to 100, with some force reps, some negatives, and superset that with the heaviest dumbbells I can carry, farmer's walk, and shrugs. And I figured that'll be good for that, 45 minutes, whatever. So I'm doing my thing, training, and I catch myself in the mirror. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm the old guy. I'm the crazy old dude. Like when you were a kid, you'd be at like the park or whatever. Yeah. And there'd be that crazy old dude with tattoos on his neck and shit doing pull-ups and shit at the park. And you're like, oh man, he's staying in his sing routine or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm like, oh, I'm that dude now. I'm the crazy old dude.
Yeah, man.
That's doing, in street clothes.
That's why I don't really like go to the bars or anything. Because I remember being like 22 and seeing like an old dude at the bar and being like, what's this dude doing? Not like any bar, but like clubs. Right. Like going over to Pacific Beach. It's all college kids and stuff. Like you wouldn't go to like, I would. That's why I wouldn't go do something like that, because it's like now I'm not like, what am I? This isn't my crowd.
I'm in
that hole in the wall bar stage of my life, I guess.
Right. Well, it's not fun. That's the part that.
Well, I won't say that.
I think you realize later, it's not fun to pay $20 to get in the door.
Yeah.
Have to yell at everybody because the damn place is so goddamn loud you can't hear. See, I sound like an old dude.
Back in my day,
it's so loud you can't hear to talk. Well, everybody's spitting on each other and stepping on your shoes.
Yeah. Last time I went was with Michael, and he always gets like a table or something. They, a lot of times a group will get like a table.
Right.
And that makes it a little better, because then you're not like in the mass of people.
Yeah.
You got your own little area. That's really the way to do it.
I think that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. Like
even forever.
Yeah.
But I think I've always been like that, because one time when I was a hat, this kid King was my guide, my first platoon. Solid dude, man. After he graduated, he went into Intel. He was a Marine Corps reservist, so he was a family of lawyers. He graduated from law school, but they weren't going to let him be part of their lawyer club until he'd been a rifleman in the Marine Corps, because I guess his dad and his grandfather had both been infantrymen.
That's kind of wild.
So they're like, hey, we'll put you through school. He had just finished his graduate degree or something. So he joins the Marine Corps. He's a reservist. He was my guide. And then when he got out, obviously he used his degree and became an intel officer for the Navy Reserve. Long story shorter, he's in town one day and he's like, hey, let's meet up and we'll go hang out. I'm like, all right, cool, man, So I drive down here and we meet up and we went to some bars in the gas lamp. And same thing, I've always been like that. Like, I'm not paying to go inside.
Yeah.
Maybe you give me a free drink coupon, I might pay, but I've got to do the math on it, right? You want me $20 to get in the door? How many drinks are you going to give me for that $20? Back then beers were like $3 a piece. So you got to figure, shit, I need like 6 beers to make up for the $20, math wise. 3, 6, 9, something like that. Anyways, so we end up at this sidebar, because I'm being grouchy old man. He's like, we'll go in this place. And he was also a reserve sheriff's officer for San Diego. So then we end up in this bar. Everybody's super nice. We're freaking playing pool and darts and having a great time. And these guys get in a fight. These 2 guys, right? And he's like, hey, we got to stop that. And I'm like, no, let's just wait till they wear themselves out.
Yeah.
Let them fight for a little while, and then we'll go clean it up. But I'm not going to go in there while they're still full of juice. Yeah, they're full of juice, man. Well, he's a reserve cop, so he's got to do what he's got to do. He's like, I'm going to get in. I'm like, all right, dude, whatever.
Is he required? Are they required to like intervene in something like that when they're off duty?
I don't know.
Is it like a police 24/7 kind of deal?
I don't know. I assume that. Yeah. I assume that, you take an oath to protect and serve, and if you're off duty, that oath still holds true.
We'll have to hit
I don't know
Joel
if that's
Flores
true
and see what he says.
We'll have to ask real cops that know what the fuck's going on. But anyways, he breaks these guys up, and turned out to be a gay bar. I didn't know that. Nice. I maybe it wasn't a gay bar like only gay people go there, but it was like one of the local hangouts. And I'm like, that's why all these dudes were super nice, and everybody was in shape. Like all the dudes were in shape.
We went to one on accident when we were in Hawaii. We had just got off the ship, and there was me, Joel, and another dude. Oh, what's his name? I can't remember his name. And we were just bar crawling, just going to all these. And none of us have been to Hawaii. So we're just walking around, and we go into this. We're getting ready to go into this one bar, and these girls start yelling at us from this like apartment, like patio or something.
Right.
And they're just like, we, like saying something, and you can't really hear them. They're pretty high up and whatever. And then we go inside and we sit down and we're having a beer. And I think we have another beer. There's almost nobody there. There's only a couple people there. It's during the day. And then one of the guys, I think it was DeMaro was there too. Either way, one of the guys went to the bathroom and came back and was like, dude, we're at a gay bar. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, there's literally pictures of naked dudes all over the bathroom. Just like plastered to the walls. Like, what? And he's like, and I guess that's what those girls were trying to tell us, because then they were laughing as we left.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
But, it's just, that's their vibe.
Hey, do your thing. I'm good with everybody. Do your thing. Just don't force me to accept it or do it.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't really go to a lot of bars anymore, but definitely more laid back ones is my kind of scene. I wouldn't mind some of the higher energy like clubs kind of deal, but I would have to do a table or something like that just so I'm not in the
I can't be in the masses
trying to talk. Hey,
yeah,
hey, like yelling.
You can't hear. You can't
trying
talk.
to get a drink. Especially that's the other thing with having a table. You can. It's a little easier to get drinks and stuff. Whereas if you're down in the masses, trying to get a drink at the bar is always a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I never understood that. But I never was a club guy. I never was a bumping doom doom doom. And that never was my thing. No. Even, and it could be generational, and it could just be like the part of the country where you did your teenage years. Because when I was growing up, we went to dances.
Well, yeah, you're old school. Went to like sock hops and shit.
Well, not quite that old, but it was similar, I would say, But yeah, we went to like...
They have all the rec centers back then, right?
Yeah, you went to the LULAC Hall. The LULAC was like Latin American League of Catholic something. The hall, like the Moose Lodge, whatever. And there'd be a dance. They'd have a band, and you'd go, and...
That's definitely not the thing anymore.
Yeah, I had a friend... He didn't drink very much, but he would get everybody up. He was a fighter. Mm-hmm. And him and his brothers, that's what they did. They loved to fight. So
they love to fight.
That's what they do. They hang out in their backyard, punch the heavy bag, and fight. And what he'd do is he'd go around and get all the empty beer bottles from other people's tables and put them on his.
Yeah.
And act all stupid so somebody would pick on him so he could try out his, his fighting moves. But that was just. I guess there was no internet. There was no cable back then, so people had to entertain themselves.
Well, when I was a senior in high school, I turned 18. I was like, whatever the reason, my years or when I was born. I was born in December, so for whatever reason, I was one of those guys that was 18 for like the last semester of my senior year, and I moved out while I was still in high school. And me and a couple buddies got a place, or a few buddies, I think it was like 4 of us, got a shitty place that was like abandoned when we moved in. Like we went to rent this, like it was like a farmhouse kind of deal, had a little barn behind it and like 1 or 2 acre field behind that. But we were like the last house on the county line. Literally next to it was an apartment building. But it was a solid brick. It was the back side of an apartment building, and it was just a solid brick wall. So it was perfect because we could party and we're not disturbing anybody.
Yeah.
It's a solid brick wall. And we were set back from the road like 100 yards. And there was, or not 100, like 50 yards. And there's like trees and stuff. And so our neighbor on the other side lived up on the road. So we're these 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and we got a place, and we're just having parties like crazy all the time. And then... graduated. One of my buddies went to Purdue and lived in the Gemini house at Purdue. And I started partying at Purdue and going to these like frat parties and stuff like that. And then it was, as soon as you turn 21, then you start going to the bars, do that for a year. Then you get bored, I'm spending a lot of money. And then I joined the Marines after that. That's when the Marine Corps finally got down to...
Got to that point, but that didn't slow down any of the partying. So
no, I think actually it did. I think joining the Marines like slowed me way down.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because before I joined, I was working and we were going out to the bars like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like every Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay, so yeah.
And it was, you went on Thursdays because there's a place in Lafayette, Indiana called the Neon Cactus. And it's right next to Purdue campus. It's right down, you just walk down the hill like 100 yards and you're there. And the bar on Thursdays would do a $5 cover charge and then 75-cent 32-ounce beers or $1.75 32-ounce well drinks.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were locals, so we knew the waitresses and stuff. So you'd pay $1.75 and get like a rum and Coke that's like half and half. Dude. You know, so you spend maybe $10 in the night to get super hammered. And it's just it's a 20,000 square foot bar that has like this massive dance floor. And then one part of it was a piano bar, you know. So we used to do that constantly, just going to these college bars. I mean, I lived on campus for a little while, even though I wasn't a student.
Right.
You know, there was apartments and shit that I lived in. To when I joined the Marine Corps, because right before I joined the Marines, I found out my now ex-wife was pregnant. Like literally the week before I went to boot camp.
Oh, shit.
So I went from not married, partying, you know, dating, to joining the Marine Corps, got married on boot leave, had a kid 3 months later after that. So by the time I got to the fleet, I had a family. You know, it was all like, I had to get a house.
Yeah, you had to be responsible. 2 different
lifestyles. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to grow up real fast.
Yeah.
Which was fine. You know, you have to, because if you don't, you can't just keep partying, right?
No, and it's so much better.
Yeah.
On that side. You know, I was thinking about it the other day. We come back from the wedding in Vegas and stuff, and I'm like, man, we are so freaking blessed. You know, and things ain't perfect, you know, but you're so freaking blessed on this side of the party life.
Yeah.
Although I'm in the recovery mode now from that weekend, but
it's okay to go do stuff occasionally and stuff like that. The thing for me, I mean, I guess you could say I was lucky. I don't necessarily say I was lucky, but a lot of the dudes I knew back home that I partied with in high school, we smoked weed and stuff like that. That was not enough for a lot of those guys. Some of them started doing meth. Some of them started getting into opioids, stuff like that, taking pills. And that was never me. I was a alcohol dude, and then I was a weed guy. And that was really it.
I could see how that would grow into needing a different high.
Yeah.
If you do it all the time,
yeah,
it's going to grow into needing a better high, a different high, you know. That's why not doing it all the time is being, what's it called? Not mediocre, but oh, god dang it. I'm searching for the word. Like not doing too much of anything.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Moderate.
Yeah, moderate, man, dude. It's like if you train like that Navy SEAL dude that runs him till his feet break.
Oh, Goggins.
Yeah, okay,
He's gonna carry the boats.
That's probably a little bit over the top, right? Not training at all.
He's definitely over the top.
Is not good either.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was for me, it was never, I never needed to go beyond that. And maybe it's because I saw examples in my own life of people that did drugs, did like pills, and it was just like, dude, like you'd see your buddy like pilled out and you're like, that doesn't look fun. You'd be like, oh, like could barely talk, you know, like drooling, basically like passing out. And then the next day they're like, that was awesome. You're like, what the, how?
Yeah, what was great about it?
What was awesome about that? And then when I was 19, it was either 18 or 19. I think I was 19. The first kid I knew from high school that OD'd died. So it was the first time someone I knew OD'd and died. And then a couple years later, when I left to go to the Marines, some of my buddies that, you know, I used to smoke weed with and just hang out and play Tony Hawk and stuff were using like meth and doing crazy stuff. They're starting to get in and out of jail and like real jail, prison.
Yeah,
you know, I think a couple of them might have went to prison. And then I remember when I was getting out, I was going, I was taking a college course at the same time as I was getting out. And, or no, it was right after I got out. I was taking a college course at Miracosta. It was a some kind of English class. I can't remember. And we were writing, the topic we had to write about was like opioids in America, like opioid addiction. And the day before, like a day before or 2 days before I had to turn it in and I was getting ready to start writing my paper, I always waited to the last minute. A kid I used to hang out with all the time died of he overdosed. And I was like, that's some, strange timing. So I added that to the paper and stuff like that. But it's just like, fuck, man. You hear about that. It's like such a waste. It's like suicide.
Yeah, no, it's
such a waste.
It's such a waste. And especially, and I don't know if it happens to you, but the more I learn, ignorance is bliss.
Oh, for sure.
Because the more I learn, the more I know I don't know. Especially now with the internet. Mm-hmm. So I've been working on cars forever. I've always drove old cars and just kept them running. And I don't know, maybe it's whatever. But the more I learn, the more I know I don't know. Like I've been keeping stuff on the road for 40 years, 50 years, just driving it and fixing it on the side of the road and jerry-rigging stuff. But now when I go on YouTube and look stuff up, I'm like, oh, I never knew that you're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
I never knew that that's why this thing broke.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, the internet is definitely I don't know, it's such a good resource. Even when I was a mechanic in the Marines, when I would work on my own stuff, I would always pull out like a tablet and be underneath my car with the YouTube video of what even if I've done it before. Yeah. Just so I have that like resource there.
Sure. And they'll tell you like, hey, don't use a screwdriver because it'll tear the backside of the rubber or whatever. Little things that you don't know. But then when you do that like I started making my own toothpaste. I know it's super hippie.
Making your own toothpaste?
Making my own toothpaste. What? So, yeah. So these are the things you learn. Like, okay, I happen upon an article about the different chemicals that are in toothpaste that make them shelf stable and, make it so that it's convenient and this and that, right? Well, these chemicals, I don't know the names of them right now, but
they're those good chemicals.
In the article they talk about that they are they're neurotransmitter interrupters. So after years and years, they're not bad for you now. Yeah. But after 40 years, these certain chemicals, they interrupt the transmissions, the neurotransmissions in your body, that tell you, and that's why people get, their teeth fall out or whatever. That's not true. That's just an example, but something like that, right? Yeah. So anyway, I learn about it and I start researching the different things. Okay, what's in it that's you're supposed to use? Mm-hmm. And, like all these hippies back in the 70s, the Back to the Earth movement and stuff, they're like, oh, ground up eggshells and, the calcium helps rebuild your teeth and this and that, all that stuff, right?
I've heard that.
So I started looking the stuff up on the homesteaders, Pinterest or whatever, and started making my own toothpaste. But you have to be careful because you have to read the stuff like, hey, if you brush your teeth twice a day with this, it cleans them too well.
Oh, really?
It kills all the bacteria, and you need some of this. And the more you do, the more you figure out, like, fuck, I don't know anything.
What do you make it of? What's it made of?
It's, I'm trying one version now. It's coconut oil, like organic coconut oil, calcium bicarbonate, which is baking soda. Yeah. Himalayan sea salt, and you got to grind it a little bit finer.
Oh, really?
Almost to a powder, huh? So it doesn't like eat up your gums.
Is that the grittiness in it?
Yeah, because it's a little too gritty. And then there's another thing. It's basically ground up eggshells, calcium something.
This is very old man stuff. As you get older and you have less to do, like work and stuff, you get these hobbies.
And you come up with stuff like, wow, why are eggshells good for your teeth? And then you figure out, okay, well, how do I get eggshells that I don't have to crush up myself? Yeah. I have a cousin. She was a meth head or I don't know, some kind of drug. She was a druggie. Yeah. And she like cleaned up and now she like kills her own chickens and grows, vegetables and lives off the land. And
now. I had a couple guys on that. There's multiple dudes I know that were with MARSOC that now have all like started farms and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys need to all start a co-op.
Yeah,
where you're
exactly.
shipping. One dude makes syrup and stuff. I think he's up in Maine. I'm like, you should be shipping syrup down to these dudes who have like cows and get some beef from them. They ship it up to like
Yeah, and a commune.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron Brandfass and Cody Anderson, they have one out in North Carolina. They're like setting up kind of off the grid, you know, about as off the grid as you can be while still living like not way into the woods kind of deal.
Right.
I think they're trying to set up like their own power plant and stuff with like steam power.
Oh,
you know?
cool.
They sent me a YouTube video where they had a guy custom make like a steam generator that creates power. It's about the size of it looks like it's about the size, if I remember correctly, of like a hot water heater.
Right.
And you just, the way it's piped up and everything, it's connected to like just like you would with a nuclear power plant. It's got the thing that spins in it. What's that
Right.
called?
Yeah, the centrifuge.
No, it's like a prop kind of deal. But anyways, yeah. There's so many people that are like getting chickens and doing stuff like that. I think a lot of people really switched to that during the pandemic because they saw like shelves were going empty for certain items and stuff like that. And people were like, well, this isn't good. You know, and if I have the means of like providing my own food and the cost of food is going up so much, it makes sense to like maybe get a couple chickens or maybe get a
Actually,
goat.
now I think it's barely breaking because it wasn't like I was going to do the chicken thing years ago, like 20 years ago, whatever. I've always been into, having chickens in the backyard or whatever, but it was not cost effective. By the time you fed them, took care of them, did all that, it was actually more expensive to get the free eggs than it was to go to the store.
Yeah, but you also have that, like if food runs out, you got a couple chickens you can kill and throw in the pot.
Sure, exactly. But now that the cost of Biden's inflation, now
the Bidenomics?
Yeah, now it's actually almost coming out the same, I think.
Yeah.
Or even maybe you might be out ahead, once you got the initial investment, of the chickens and stuff. My sister does chickens and they get eggs and they trade. Same thing, like one of the neighbors has more chickens, they'll have more and like, hey. And I have a buddy that raises meat rabbits.
Oh, okay. One of my friends just bought a place that came with rabbits like that. The previous owner had and he's like, I've never seen this before. And I was like, I remember as a little kid, one of my uncles in Indiana on his farm had those outdoor rabbit cages that they raise them for that.
Yeah, yeah.
As a livestock, what would you call that?
Dinner rabbits. Yeah, we called them meat rabbits, but I think the technical term was dinner rabbits.
Yeah.
Or maybe vice versa. Maybe it's the other, but.
It's so different, being here in the city. Someone around the corner has a chicken, or they used to. I don't know if they do anymore. But I have another buddy that lives in Indiana, and he has a little bit of property. He's got like a pole barn, he's got a pond and stuff. And I was like, dude, that's perfect. If you can get that kind of set up, you could make a little greenhouse right there, and then you could fill your pond with like some kind of fish, tilapia or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know what kind of fish, what pond fish. What are those ones called? They're like the small ones that people catch. I'm trying to remember. Anyways, I was like, throw a couple of those in there, and then one day, if the food source is all fucked up, now you've got your little greenhouse you started. Maybe you got a goat or a cow or something like that, and you got a pond full of fish that's going to be reproducing. Yeah, that's like a good, consistent food source, multi-layered food source. If like the shit hit the fan, kind of deal.
And you need that. Even the pioneers, people are always like, oh, they carried foodstuffs with them. Because even in the, even in the Oregon Trail days, there wasn't enough free game to sustain the trip.
Yeah.
So they had to bring beans and...
People think that the woods are just stock full of like animals are just cruising everywhere out there. They don't realize how difficult it is to even get like squirrels. I mean, squirrels aren't that difficult, but if you don't have a gun or something, that's difficult. It could be difficult.
That, and you got to know when to kill them. Like we used to kill rabbits all the time back home in the winter.
Yeah.
Because I guess after it gets so cold, there's a bacteria that lives in their skin that dies in the winter. But you can't eat them in the summer because there's some kind of...
I think it's because in the summertime, fleas and ticks are more pronounced.
Okay.
So they could be carrying bloodborne illnesses easier. I think it's the same thing with deer as well. That you can take them anytime, but the odds of getting one that's sick from a parasite is greater in the summertime because fleas and ticks can spread the disease more.
And so but here you don't go killing rabbits and eating them.
Well, here's a different place.
It never gets cold enough.
I think here, no, it doesn't get cold enough. I think you would also, I don't know. I wonder what the Native Americans of this area ate. You know, there is a tribe that came from here because when I went to SDSU, they always did the statement
on
all the
land
emails.
thing.
Yeah, this land was taken from whatever tribe, whatever. And I'm like, well, if you care that much, why don't you just give it back?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I think that's
give it
the
back or
dumbest
get over
shit
it.
ever. That's the dumbest stuff.
I wonder, like lizard. I bet people ate lizards and stuff out here. You know,
yeah.
You see roadrunners. You know, you see those roadrunner coyotes.
Well, they were, hunter-gatherer people. The La Sueño band of Native Americans there in like East Oceanside area.
Yeah.
You know.
Have you ever been up to that the like Order of the Rose or some crap like that?
Oh yeah,
building?
top of the hill.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
The Rosicrucian or something like that.
Yeah, it's right outside
I've never
Camp
gone
Pendleton.
inside of there. My buddy John Nichols, he's like super brilliant. He like checks out everything.
Yeah.
Super interesting guy. You got to get him on here because, man, talk about interesting.
That's what I like to do,
super
too.
interesting. Like anything. You mentioned the Rosicrucian Fellowship. He's been there. He went there and checked it out and found out the story behind it. You know, he's that guy.
That's cool.
You know,
that's the stuff I like to do. Like I've wanted to go up there and shoot photos for a long time because it's a cool spot. For people that don't know what we're talking about, it's this outside of Camp Pendleton. When you down 76 right there, the highway.
Yeah,
or is that 78? That's 76.
It's 76. It's the top of Mission Road.
Yeah, you see it looks like a dome building on top of the hill, and you can tell it's some kind of it looks religious even from the road, but it looks really cool. And I always wondered for a long time what it was, and I looked it up and I saw, and I guess you can just go visit. I think you can just go up there, and it's always, well, I don't know if it is now, but it used to be like always open. There'd be someone there to like talk to you or whatever.
Yeah, give you a tour or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure they still have something, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff. Like, have you seen that, what is it, ZZXYZ Road?
I was just reading about that yesterday.
Oh, really? It's on the way to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then there's like old sanitariums out there where people built for tuberculosis and stuff.
There's a Cal State research facility at the end of the road. The road was built by Cal State.
Okay.
And it's the road is XXYZZZYX or something like that. And I think it's pronounced like Zizix or something like that, I believe is how you say it. But Cal State, there's a research facility out there, but there's also like a healing area, like a healing fountain. There's like a fountain at the end of the road.
Yeah.
Or there's like an oasis. That's what it was. There's not just a fountain. There's like an oasis. There's like a pond with palm trees and stuff around it.
Oh, really?
I just saw that on Instagram
Is it
yesterday.
still
It's funny
now?
you brought that up.
They still have it now out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there was one, like YouTube Explorer guy.
Yeah.
And he was checking out, there was an old sanitarium a guy had built. I guess he had tuberculosis or some kind of lung problem. And the desert air was good for it and the water and all that. And there's like an old compound out there.
That's cool.
But you learn about that stuff.
There's a guy on YouTube. I'll have to look up the actual channel name, but he bought an old mining town. It's up by Death Valley. It's up in the mountains, but so it's not like crazy hot or anything, but you can see Death Valley from the place. But he bought this old mining town. He started a YouTube channel, and it's him just like redoing the mining town and stuff like that. And there's like a mine. There's like an actual mine shaft with the machinery and stuff still there from like the early 1900s. I guess they used to pull like nickel or something out of it. Right. And he takes it down like 1,000 feet into this mountain. Dude, he pulled out a pair of jeans, a pair of old Levi jeans, And you may have seen this in the news. They went on auction like 6 months or 8 months ago.
Oh.
And there was a controversy because it said in one of the pockets, there was a tag that said made by white labor.
Yes.
But it was an old pair of miner's jeans. And he found those in the mine, pulled it out and sold them for like $100,000.
Yeah.
But he's like
heard
redoing
about that.
Yeah, he's redoing this whole mountain town. He wants to do like Airbnb. There's like a cave in the side of one part of the mountain where he used to store the dynamite. It was like a cave with like a vault door on it. You like changed it into a library and stuff like that. It's super cool. Like when people do stuff like that, it's super cool.
Yeah, I dig it out there. I like when people do stuff like that.
I kind of want to see what that channel name is now.
Oh, it's creative.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It'd be nice. I'm in the city. It'd be nice to be in an area where you can have like property and like build something on it, and you know, I don't know. There's two sides to the whole thing. I mean, we live a very comfortable life. Yeah.
You know, like, oh man, I don't feel like cooking. Hey, just order some tacos. They'll drop them at the house. You know.
Oh yeah.
You don't have that when you live out in the country. You know, you have to do what you have to do.
Ghost Town Living is the name of the
Ghost Town Living
is the name of the channel. Yeah, it's cool. And Indiana Spartan commented on YouTube saying that Rocky Mountain spotted fever and the rabbit is
that what it is? Rocky Mountain
says.
Spotted fever?
You know, unconfirmed.
I don't know. I just remember when I was a kid, my dad would say, you know, don't eat those. It's not cold enough out or whatever.
Yeah.
They knew all that stuff.
I think that is a lot of it is the fleas and ticks.
Yeah.
That can get on them. That's like out here, you can kill coyotes all day, but you don't eat them.
Yeah.
Because they're just so covered in fleas and they can have disease. But they're seen as a varmint out here. So if you have a hunting license, I think you can really kill as many as you want. I don't think there's a limit on it.
Yeah, I see them all the time in my neighborhood.
Yeah, in the neighborhoods.
Yep. And I kind of dig them because I grew up around them. So they're kind of cool. You know, they're like cool dogs.
Yeah.
But these are like ghetto rat, you know.
They don't look good.
Yeah, they're not like the ones you would think. Okay, in southern New Mexico, out in the middle of nowhere, they're gonna be scraggly. They look more healthy.
Oh, for sure.
The coyotes.
Well, that's their real environment. That's where they're really supposed to be. They're not supposed to be living in the city.
Yeah, they're not supposed to run around Oceanside, you know, eating freaking McDonald's and all the other chemical-induced garbage that we eat.
I saw someone on Joe Rogan say that every major city in the U.S. has coyotes.
Really?
They're one of the most invasive species in the country. Like New York City has coyotes.
Really?
Yeah, they're like living in buildings and like shit like that, apparently.
That's kind of cool. I dig coyotes. I've never been attacked by coyotes, so I don't know if they're, you know, but they're a cool looking dog.
You turn one into a pet.
I had a, what the hell was that? It was half coyote and half, God, his name was Rex. Some kind of fucking nice dog.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Like a wolf dog kind of deal?
No, it was like some kind of like rich person's nice dog.
A poodle?
God, I can't remember. But anyways, it was kind of tan and red, but he was half coyote and good dog.
That was probably weird looking, huh?
Yeah, it kind of looked like a German Shepherd that needed a haircut, sort of. But he freaking faced down a Chevy station wagon. Used to run out of the yard. I lived like by the main drag.
Yeah. And
there was like an auto parts store, and I would run across the main street to get to like the liquor store across the way. Mm-hmm. Fucking dog followed me one day, and I shot out through traffic. It's like 4 lanes each direction or 2 lanes each direction. Mm-hmm. So I shot across traffic, and the damn dog followed me, and he made it like halfway. And this chick was driving a 78 Chevy station wagon. Hit her brights, honked the horn, and he turned and like went nose to nose with a roar. Freaking ran him over. He went underneath like that, flipped out from the back of the station wagon onto the road. And I was like, well, fuck, he's dead.
Yeah.
So I just went to the liquor store, finished what I was doing. There's no sense in me going and getting the dog out of the road. He was already dead. So.
Damn, you left the dog in the road?
Yeah, he was dead.
That's fucked
But
up.
he wasn't dead. That's the funny part. So I go in the liquor store. I come out. It was like a little, Piggly Wiggly gas station place.
Yeah.
I come out with my beer and he's gone. I'm like, oh man. I figured, somebody pulled him off the side of the road. Because he went under. I watched him like he was crushed.
Yeah.
He flipped out the back and did a thing, right? Went home, got home, and there he was laying next to the door. Like all the skin scraped off like side of his face and his back. And he was like, you fucking left me, bro.
Yeah. Damn, bro. To go get a beer.
Yeah, I was like, I thought you were dead, man.
I've only seen a dog get hit once, and I was horrified, but I was also in like 6th grade.
Oh.
So it was like, like, oh my God. It was bad. It lived too. Same thing. It got straight on hit. And I was like, and then we went over and it was still alive, and we wrapped it up in a blanket and found the owner so he could take it to the vet. But I was like, man, that's horrible to see an animal get hit.
It is. It's terrible. I've had quite a few. That guy lived, put him on my father-in-law's place. He had he was way out of town. He worked on farms. He was a migrant farm worker.
Yeah.
He lived way out of town. So I put him on my father-in-law's house. But I would always put all my dogs out there eventually because they were free. They just come and go as they want. Come and eat, and then you just take off into the fields or the desert or wherever and bring back a rabbit. I had this one dog. It was a Chihuahua-like thing, and it had been abandoned. Little tiny white dog, like this big. Mm-hmm. I called it Blanca. Well, I didn't know that it had been abandoned by its mother. The car it was living on, they dragged the car off. Mm. And so anyways, they get the thing, and it's been starving. It's like a little stick. And I just set it in the bag of dog food. And I figured, it'll eat till it's full, and then that thing ate so much that its feet couldn't touch the ground.
It was all swelled up.
Yeah, and then my grandfather comes over. He's like, you're a fucking retard. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, the dog's been starving. It's a puppy. It doesn't know to stop. You're going to feed it to death.
Yeah, it'll eat itself to death.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, sorry, But that dog turned out to be pretty cool.
I had a wiener dog when one of my uncles passed away, and I took over ownership of his dog. And when I lived at that house out in the country, I'm telling you, man, this house, if you would have seen it. So like I said, when we moved in, it was legitimately abandoned.
Okay. It was like a Fight Club.
It
Fight
was
Club house.
Kinda. It was like the rental place was like, hey, if you clean it out, then you don't have to pay like the fee, the down payment or whatever. And the deposit. And we're like, okay. And whoever lived there before, there was like family photos on the wall. There's food in the cabinets. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know. But it was like legitimately just abandoned with all this stuff in it. And it was by this field, and mice had like taken the house over, basically. Oh. We killed like 24 mice in the first 24 hours. But once we got, which sounds horrific for anyone listening, but remember, we're a bunch of 18-year-old dudes. We're like, whatever.
Yeah.
And every time we would kill one, we'd put a notch on the trim of one of the doors.
Yeah, that's what we do.
All the notches from everyone. You'd be sitting in the house like that first week, and you'd hear a trap on one side and the trap on the other side of the house go off within like seconds of each other. And you're like, holy shit. And then after the first week, we didn't really see any mice anymore because we got them all out. And then I had a wiener dog, and same deal, because I had that big field in the backyard, I could just open the back door and he would just take off. And I'd see him later in the day, he'd just show back up, sometimes with a little animal, sometimes with his mouth full of dirt and stuff like that. And he would always like sniff at the ground and like dig and chew at the ground. And he'd always come back with that dirt jammed into his teeth and stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? You idiot. And then one day I just let him dig because I'd always stop him. And I was just like, just whatever. I want to see what he's doing. So he's like, starts chewing at the ground, starts digging, and digs like 6 inches into the dirt and pulls a mole out. I'm like, that was crazy. Yeah, dude. So
nature's freaking awesome, man.
There's some cool dogs out there. You get a cool dog like that. He was a little bastard though, because he wasn't my dog, so I never trained him or anything.
Right.
So he only listened sometimes. Like sometimes he would think that he could just leave, take off into the field and no worries, come
back when he felt like it.
Yeah, I got stuff to do,
Yeah.
I was legitimately late for work one time because I thought he was going to run away. I was like, I'm like an hour late because I'm trying to find this damn dog that took off. But I don't know. I think it's good to have a dog around.
It is. Well, that's the thing. That's the difference. Like when I was growing up, at least when I lived in southern New Mexico and the El Paso area, you just let your dog run wild. Whether you lived in town or you lived out of town, they just came and went as they pleased. So you didn't have to pick up dog poop. You didn't have to walk your dog. I never walked a dog till I was stationed in Oregon.
Oh, really?
You know, I was like, I got to walk my dog because he can't just go do his own thing, you know. So, but there's a completely different mentality to them, and they're super cool. You just got to keep them clean, you know. But
yeah, normally like in neighborhoods and stuff, you'd have to like walk your dog, you know. I that's why I really haven't. One of the reasons I haven't got another dog since my last one passed away, because I'm in the city and there's like a patch of grass down the street.
Yeah,
you know, and I kind of feel bad that I have to walk him for him to like be able to run in a field or something
and do
like
his
that.
thing. Yeah,
yeah, you know, he's dependent on me to be able to do that. And even in a neighborhood, like, yeah, at least it's not the same still, but at least I can let him out into like a backyard and stuff like that, and then take him on walks. Here, if he wants to be outside at all, I have to go walk him because it's a city.
Yeah,
and he will get hit by a car.
Yeah, or you know, stolen or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. All right, well, go ahead. Go ahead and do your thing. I'll sit here and talk for a minute. I'll take this out. What I'll do is when this is
full of coffee, so.
Yeah. Well, when this live stream's done, I'll download it and cut this part out of it and re-upload it. But yeah, if you're watching this and you haven't been over to the website, jkramergraphics.com, I do have the Black Friday sales and the Cyber Monday sale ending today. Make sure to check that out. 20% off hoodies. I can do group orders, bulk orders, whatever. Hit me up if you need a logo designed. I've been doing the TBS classes, the basic school classes out of Quantico. I really appreciate the support from that. The Marine Corps Fire Support Coordinations course. They've been getting their shirts from me too. Really appreciate that. It's been cool. Podcast wise, I'm going to try to keep being more consistent. I got this interview with Tracy today. I got another one with the pilot who flew with the 160th. That'll be coming up. And then I have another one that I need to get a date locked on with someone that was at Bastion. He was part of the Cobra Squadron at Bastion when they got attacked by the Taliban. So we're going to talk about that, kind of how the attack went, stuff like that. So good stuff coming up. I've been posting more on Instagram and everything like that. I've also been, all new episodes are being uploaded to Patreon ad-free. So if you don't like hearing the ads on the audio version, or you don't like watching the ads on the on YouTube, then you can go over to patreon.com, look up Former Action Guys, subscribe there for, you know, as little as $1 or $2, and then you can get access to all the episodes ad-free. They're not all on there yet. I'm slowly uploading them, but eventually all of them will be there. And yeah, man. So that's kind of it on that. Yeah, we haven't really talked too much military stuff.
No.
You know, like
it's funny we get sidetracked on the stuff we normally would talk about.
Well, I mean, plus it's, again, that's not really, I'm still kind of in that realm because I'm doing the podcast, and I'm doing business with like different units, doing these bulk order t-shirts and stuff like that. So I still get I still have conversations about the military. I'm still outside of the loop on almost everything.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's not like I'm one of those guys that got out and moved back home and now there's no one around them.
Right.
That's military. They're not talking to anybody about military, you know, which probably made my transition out of the military easier because I'm continually to talk about it. I can associate with people. They understand what I'm saying, you know, so.
It does make it easier. And we were talking about being able to transition and like be part of regular society. You're always part of regular society. I mean, you go to the grocery store, even when you're in, you go places, you do things. But your core group is kind of in the same mental space, you know?
Well, it's a different vibe too, because you can't replicate it in the real world. The only thing that would be close would be going to college, because you're living and working with the same people every day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And even then, I don't think college
it wouldn't
a candle.
be. It wouldn't be, but it'd be more so because your roommates, you probably have some classes with your roommates. So you're living with them and associating with them at your, you know, so-called work.
And that's probably why people develop such great friendships you know, like, oh, my buddy from college.
Yeah.
You know, because they're together all the time. I think it's the shared misery, the being part of something greater than yourself. Especially the Marine Corps. I don't discount anyone else's experience, but in the Marine Corps, at least my experience was, it was like everything you did reflected on the Marine Corps. I mean, that's faded a little bit. I don't know if it has or not, but we've thought about it. Like my buddy gave a speech one time to his Marines about not fucking up at the ball or some event, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, hey, you got to change. You got to remember, our generation, we always thought the Marines, right? We always looked at one side of your blouse that says U.S. Marines, and you're like, hey, I don't want to embarrass the family, the Corps, you know, that thing. I don't want to get in trouble at work, that kind of thing. And he goes, but you got to also put on their side. Their name is on the other side. So he gave this speech like, hey, it says, you know, Sanchez on your blouse also. So everything you do doesn't only reflect the Marine Corps, but it reflects your family, your father, your cousins, whatever. And it said your name is also on there. And so he gave this whole thing about, and I'm like, so you don't get that anywhere else.
Well, anytime there's something that happens that involves Marines, that's what they lead with.
Right.
Like, Marine veteran steals blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Marine veteran kills his family.
Steals bubble gum from little kid on side of a street.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then active duty Marines, it'll say a Marine from Camp Lejeune, did this in the newspaper or whatever.
Yeah. And we tried not to do that. It was kind of a big deal to us to uphold the standards, you know.
Did you see that video of those Marines that got in the fight after the ball?
I did. Yeah.
That was a good one.
In Texas?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, and maybe if I can, I'll add in the video here so people know what we're talking about. I don't know the full context behind the video.
I don't either.
But it looked like that someone got their phone taken or smacked or something. I think that's what started the back and forth. And then there was like a Lance Corporal and some dude that got in each other's face. And then the one guy like punched him like 3 times. And then the Lance Corporal hits him once and knocks him out. And then the whole thing is just crazy. But it was like, if I saw that, I mean, you being a former sergeant major, if you saw that, what would you do? I mean, he got hit 3 times before he swung back.
Unfortunately, I was probably not the best example, because I kind of would get emotional in those things, and I'd be like, fuck it, let's go. Why are you guys waiting so long? You know? Why didn't you hit him before he hit your buddy? We should have just smoked those motherfuckers and stomped them into, you know. So I probably wouldn't have been the best example, because that was my reaction. When I first saw it, I'm like, I get it. They're trying to de-escalate the situation. Yeah. And I know that's what they're doing, because that's what I try to do as an adult. You try to de-escalate the situation.
Like, it's cool, man. We're all drunk. Everybody be cool.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in your blues. They're all in their blues.
Yep. You don't want your shit getting torn. It's expensive. But on the flip side, I tend to not be that mature in those situations. So I don't know what my reaction might not have been the best one. I probably would have been like, fuck you, and you know.
Does a CO have to do something like that? That video came out. That's national. It was on national news. I mean, that's. Do you think there's going to be pressure, like organizational pressure, to do something? There's always
pressure on the CO. I was so super lucky, man. My entire career, I had some of the best COs ever, and people didn't like them. My buddy was one of my buddies. He's my buddy now. He's my company commander at one point. And this dude, great leader. Like the kind of guy that always made you want to do better. Mm-hmm. And always made you feel like you didn't do enough, like you weren't supportive enough. Nobody liked him. I mean, really? I liked him. The young troops liked him, like Lance Corporals and Corporals and Sergeants. They liked him. Mm-hmm. They were like, yeah, fuck yeah. He's all fight, you know. the other officers and the mid-level leadership didn't care for him. I'm not saying they didn't like him. They just didn't like that
leadership style.
But I loved it because I had to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it. He didn't do it in a way that like he didn't force you.
Yeah.
Like one time, we were arguing about something, and I was like, "Sir, this ain't gonna matter in a fucking 1,000 years." And he goes, "Well, if we took that thought process, then nothing would matter." And I'm like, "Fuck!" He beat me at my own game. And then he got me again. He got me again with something. Like, you always tell people, like, "Oh, I don't know if we can do that." Well, we surely can't with that attitude, bitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Get the fuck up and try. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else, right?
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to do a field meet, and we were coming back. We were in Kuwait, and it was, like one of those stopovers. We were in the transient barracks and stuff.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do a field meet, and I didn't. To be perfectly honest, now I didn't want to do the work. I just wanted to lay in my rack and fucking wait for the flight,
Yeah, for sure.
And so anyways, he was like, "Hey, let's do something. Let's fucking do something with these guys, and have a good time and shit." I don't know if we can do that, sir. I don't know if we have the time and, and all that. And he goes, "Well, yeah, we probably can't if you don't try." That kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, fuck.
Yeah, you don't want to let him down.
And he got me because I was like, you're fucking right. The only reason I'm not going with the program is because I'm just being lazy.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. There was other things like logistics and all the excuses. But they were all excuses.
Yeah, you could have made it happen if you wanted.
And we did. And it was a freaking blast. We had a milk drinking contest.
Oh, God.
Yeah, because there's no liquor. So I had to come up with stuff.
Yeah. A milk drinking contest.
Yeah, the human body can only consume so much milk in one time without
it's like if you
up.
drink a gallon of milk. That was a thing for a while. People were trying to drink a gallon of milk, and they're all puking everywhere.
Yeah, so, and I got it from the kids. That's what I did. Is in order to circumvent some of the labor, I made Lance Corporal and below, you guys are coming up with what we're doing at the field meet.
Nice.
So they came up with a stripper pole, made like some of the dudes dressed like chicks and be strippers, and milk drinking contest.
You liberal cuck. How could you?
And they did an imitation thing where they imitated different people, they dress up like you and imitate you.
Oh, and the leadership?
Yeah, it was fucking hilarious. Because
you don't realize. There's a word for that. Didn't you guys do that at the end of boot camp?
Yeah,
right?
you do the boot camp like a gong show.
Gong show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we did this was freaking hilarious. We did a ammo can throw Dizzy Izzy combo.
What the heck is that?
So you had them run.
Oh, Dizzy Izzy's were on the baseball bat.
With the baseball bat. So you had them run, and then they do the Dizzy Izzy, right? And then you run. You're all fucked up when you try to run. But you run to the thing, do the Dizzy Izzy, and then we had ammo cans. And then you had to spin 3 times and throw the ammo can for distance.
Uh-huh.
And they were going like into tanks.
I was going to say, that seems dangerous.
Oh, it was freaking funny as hell.
That's funny.
Like ammo cans were like flying into tents, into the crowd. People would crash and burn trying to throw it, and they're all fucked up, so they couldn't let go, and it would take them with them. They
do cool stuff like that over at 11th Marines when they do their St. Babs celebration, St. Barbara's Day celebration. They make trebuchets. There's like a trebuchet building competition between the batteries and stuff like that.
I made one of those with my son one time.
Oh, yeah?
Didn't work out. My math was not good. But it shot the rock really good. But I had bungee cords.
Yeah.
And I had overdone it. So instead of it getting an arc, as soon as it came up, it shot the rock like straight, like a rocket.
It's like a bullet, goes half a mile, takes out a window.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that's the kind of stuff. And it was good. And it was all because but that's the kind of leader he was. He would create the opportunity for you to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. And then
That's a good leader will set the conditions for you to do something and then allow you to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's what I want. Here's my end state. Go do it. And then kind of support you along the way. Maybe they give you like, hey, here's a better idea how to do that. I see you doing something. But what always got me are the people that use like their rank as like that was their only leadership qualities. They had rank. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have to demand respect because of your rank, then that's not the right way to do it. People should respect you because you're the subject matter expert. You know, you're the person that's in charge, and I trust that you're making the correct decisions. I've seen you operate out in the field, and you know what the hell you're doing. Yep. You're not going to get dudes killed. You do care about the welfare of, you know, the troops and stuff like that.
Well, I think the initial part is people trust you because of your position, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you got more stripes than them, so they trust you. So now your job is to obviously earn. They've already given it to you freely. You still got to earn it through your actions thereafter.
For sure.
You know, but also like you don't want to let them down. Like my greatest fear, like as a sergeant major, I never feared a bad fit rep. I never feared.
Well, you already made it. You're a sergeant major. Who cares anymore?
Yeah, they're going to give you a bad fit rep. What are they going to do? Like not let you be a sergeant major?
Oh,
you know?
No.
You know, oh, you're not going to promote me again? You know, but there's other things that they use to try to manipulate you to go with the crew.
Yeah, because even as a sergeant major, you're no longer moving up in rank. You're moving up in billet at that point.
Sure.
Trying to go from the battalion to the regiment, you know.
Yeah.
Some of those dudes, when you were a sergeant major, the other sergeants major that you knew, were there guys that you knew were like gunning to be sergeant major of the Marine Corps one day? Like that was their goal?
I don't know if no one ever said it out loud.
Yeah.
But there's guys that is in their nature.
Yeah.
That wasn't in my nature. Like my next job should have been for a colonel. You know, like at MSG or whatever, right? And I didn't want to do that because that's not my thing.
I mean, you retired from ANGLICO.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat that.
No, it's super awesome from your perspective. From the sergeant major's hierarchy perspective,
You're like the low dude.
I'm like a peon.
Yeah.
You're like the new guy. The new guy goes to ANGLICO. It's, you know,
It's
that's
a company, yeah.
Yeah, or the new guy is like, you know, you go to 1-5 or wherever. You go to, that's where the new guy goes.
Yeah.
You know, to a lieutenant colonel billet, that type of thing. But the new guy gets all the fun. You don't, I mean, I don't know. I didn't have to do it, but I stood in a little bit for guys, and I'm like, this is not fun.
Just lifestyle wise, I would think that ANGLICO would beat most units because it's a smaller pool of people to deal with because it's a company. For those that don't know, ANGLICO is a company-sized element, but it is led by a lieutenant colonel and a sergeant major because it supports division-sized elements.
Right.
So that's why those people are there. But so now you have less people to deal with. Most of the people want to be there. You know, there's not a lot of people that were at ANGLICO that didn't like being there. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, the only ones that don't want to be there are the people that don't want to be anywhere.
Yeah.
You know?
The only people I ever saw really complain were like the headquarters guys. And I remember one time I think it was right before I was going back to, I think I was getting ready to go to the MEU or something. I don't remember what it was. I wasn't in the field. Like all the assaults were in the field. All the teams were out in the field. And they had a company formation, which is because no one was there. It was all headquarters people. And what was the comm chief's name? What was that guy's name? Not the guy that came from recon, but the one before him. Do you know?
I can't think.
It would have been under Colonel Russell, but anyways, they were having a formation, and he was like, "Hey, duty roster's coming out," and people started to gripe because they had like 2 duties in a month or something like that. Yeah. And I had never heard anybody up until this point from the head shed say something, but he's like, "Shut the fuck up! All the team guys are out training." There's dudes in Arizona. There's dudes in Idaho. They're not home. They're not going to come right back and go on duty. Yeah. So you can fucking do the duty. Like, stop bitching about it. You know, and if you got a problem, then you could be the one that goes and leaves for a week. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like,
and it's a trade, because headquarters, for sure, they got ass raped on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And they did do more than their fair share. I have to give the
I'm not saying
the rear echelon guys.
Yeah.
They did more than their fair share, because I know I hung out with the teams too, and we'd come back and turn in weapons and take off at 1300 on Friday, and the headquarters guys still had to go watch the ball game or whatever to get money for the ball.
Oh yeah.
You know, which is kind of a cool trade-off.
Yeah.
So you know,
it's give and take. You know, you choose
Yeah.
what your job is. You can't bitch about being in the field if you chose a.
Yeah, you can't bitch about training if you want to train.
You chose a combat arms MOS,
right?
That's
and
your
vice
life.
versa.
But it was nice to hear someone from headquarters be like, "Hey, look, these dudes are gone. They're all training. They're out in the field.
Yeah.
They're missing weeks at a time. It's not a big deal for you to miss, you know, to have duty. Like, shut the fuck
especially
up."
anymore, because duty used to be a drudgery.
Yeah.
There was no internet. There was
man.
a TV in the rec room, but then the drunk guy was watching the TV.
Yeah.
So you weren't watching TV in the rec room. You were reading a book, walking around, getting harassed by the OOD, who was also a boot, you know.
Yeah.
Dealing with drunk fuckers that are acting like assholes.
When I was a junior Marine too, you couldn't have like whatever book you had to be like Marine Corps military focused.
Yeah, or you had to be doing an MCI or something.
Yeah, it had to be like the Marine Gazette, or it had to be like a military book from the Commandant's reading list. Like, even then, like, my unit wouldn't let you just bring in any magazine and sit there and read it or something like that. And this was early days of like internet on the cell phone, so that wasn't really an option. But it was just weird. It was almost like you're one of the restriction guys, because you know how the restriction room is not supposed to have anything non-military related or whatever.
And so that was the whole thing. But it's a trade-off. But now, dude, you're going to do the exact same thing sitting behind that desk as you're going to do back at your house. You're going to scroll on your phone like a moron.
Because for whatever reason, I did used to get duty all the time when I'd come back from the field. It would be like literally show back up on Friday, turn in my weapon, turn in the rental car, come back, throw on chucks, and then go sit in the duty hut. And then I had duty from that time until Saturday. And
that's not cool.
Dude, it happened to me at least a few times, but I use it to I use it to my advantage, I guess, because I was a JTAC evaluator, and we'd always be coming out of the field where we just did a bunch of evaluations. So I just would sit down and start typing up all the evaluations, the official evaluations, to put in their record jackets and stuff. So it was like, it sucked, but it also helped me like get that work done, because it's hard to sit down. And I'm talking some of these field ops, you're out in the field for a week. You can't type up evaluations while you're out in the field. You take notes and stuff, but when you're out there, you're not really typing them up. So you come back and you're typing up evaluations for all kinds of events. So I'll have like 40 different things I got to type up. So I'm spending like 4 or 5 hours straight just, you know. So it sucked, but it was also a time for me to get other shit done that I needed to get done.
Yeah.
I tried to use it to my advantage.
Well, that's the smart thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
Use stuff to your advantage. I tell you what, that type of discipline helped me when I was in college. When I first got out. Oh, man, if anybody's listening, and if no one's listening, I don't care to listen anyways, but...
People are listening.
If you're in, go to school while you're in. I'm telling you, that was the greatest missed opportunity. Two things that I
agree with that.
Regret about my career. One is I didn't take advantage of all the super interesting and smart people that I knew that offered to help me with things.
Yeah.
You know, like Merritt. Merritt was a swim guy, and he was teaching classes at lunch.
Oh, yeah, I remember
I was
that.
a swim guy, you know, so I'm like, I could keep my skills up. I could learn. He knew much more than I did. I could learn from him. I could keep my skills up, but I never made the time, or I didn't make it enough. I did, but not regularly.
Yeah.
You know, Ray, Master Sergeant Ray, martial arts dude, always teaching martial arts at lunchtime. Go over there and keep your skills up, you know, and you know, body hardening, all that. But the other thing was school. So I had a buddy when I was a sergeant. He was a staff sergeant. and he got his law degree.
Yeah.
Now, he had been working on his law degree since he was a Lance Corporal.
Mm-hmm.
But he did one class at a time, TA, and he had 8 years of school. He'd been in like 10 or 12 years.
Nice.
But he had 8 years of school done.
Yeah.
And it took him 12 years to do it. But he did it one class at a time. And he told me, he was like, dude, just do it one class at a time. It's a couple nights a week. You do your homework. It's
not a big deal.
And I didn't listen. I don't have time,
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Excuses. So when I started going to school after I retired, but I did have some of that discipline built in.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to night school. I'd get out like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Get home, it'd be like 10:20, 10:30. I'd pour a couple of whiskeys and just start doing all the assignments for that week.
Mm-hmm.
So, like when you first go, they'll some of the classes, they'll give you everything you're going to do during that semester.
Yeah.
I'd start rocking that stuff out. Doing the reading, doing the homework.
Just going through the syllabus and knocking out what you can.
Bam, bam, bam. So in some of my classes, I was doing fast track. So there's 6 week, twice a week for 6 weeks. And so they pile some shit on you.
Yeah, my foreign language class was like that.
But I'd be 4 weeks ahead.
Yeah.
In like the first 2 weeks after you get your feet under you, you kind of figure out what you need and what book you bought you really didn't need to buy because none of the shit's in there anyways. That stuff.
School's a lot easier too when you're a little older because you're a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
And if you've never done anything outside of high school, then you forget that you can choose. Like in college, you can choose so many classes. You choose what you want to take.
Yeah.
They tell you have to take something within this area of study, but here's 15 different classes that meet the requirement.
Right.
So out of all those things, which one sounds the coolest?
Yeah.
I will say not going to school more while I was in was also one of my regrets. I remember I was going to sign up for classes, and then I got tagged to work on the EFSS, that 120 millimeter mortar and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to have enough time. We're going to be in the field all the time, so I'm not going to do it. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to sign up for classes. Then I got tagged for deployment to Iraq. And I was like, well, deployment to Iraq, I'm definitely not going to have time. Had plenty of time. Had computer access. And then my next deployment was going to be to Afghanistan. And I was like, well, this is a real deployment to Afghanistan because the first one to Iraq, I was a mechanic. This one, I'm an actual fire support guy.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm definitely not going to have time. Had plenty of time. And I didn't take any classes until I decided to get out. When I was like, all right, they're sending me back to the MEU. Fuck this. I'm getting out. I got 2 years. And I made that decision 2 years out. And then like the day I go, or not the day, but the week that I go, I'm getting out. That week I went to the education office on base and talked to them, signed up for classes, and just started crushing them. And I knocked out 30 credits before I got out. And now I got my bachelor's degree. I got out and used my GI Bill. And because I used TA, that tuition assistance, while I was in and knocked out those 30 credits, I still have a year's worth of GI Bill benefits left. I could go back and get a master's degree if I want to.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And you have time, and it's a lot easier than you think it is. And it's not really... I think a lot of people need to be... The thing, too, also, when you are taking classes while you're in, make sure you're doing it through a legitimate school. What I did was to make sure the classes I took, I didn't want it to be like AMU bachelor's degree and Homeland Security. Like, who gives a fuck? That's like the stupidest degree from like some military online university. Like, no one cares.
But the flip side to that is no one cares what the title of the school is. They just care that you have the degree.
Well, unless you're like wanting to stay and be like a contractor or something like that,
Yeah.
like these degrees in Homeland Security, I'm like, what are you doing with it? You know what I'm saying? Like, unless you're trying to stay in the government,
or in that. But even with that, I have to disagree with you slightly because no one cares. When you go to apply someplace, they don't care if you have a degree. You got a master's degree in feminine studies. You still got a master's degree. You're still in the club. They need the box to check.
Yeah.
The degree box, not the actual skill, unless you're doing something. Like, that's why I'm a big fan of the trades.
Yeah.
The trades make people.
Yeah. To become a journeyman, you got to go through school and
you got to know what the fuck you're doing. You can't just be able to talk theoretically.
Yeah.
You know, I got a buddy, man. He lives in TJ. He's a construction elevator guy.
Oh, cool.
So you know those giant when they're building skyscrapers and stuff.
He goes and puts those in.
He's the guy. Like he fixes them, he builds them, he installs them, he tears them down.
They make good money. Elevator mechanics make good money.
Like without overtime, he's in the $65 an hour range.
Yeah.
But he's self-taught.
Nice.
So
yeah, I don't take that as me thinking or me saying that. You know, school doesn't matter. Usually, places don't care about your school unless it's literally one of the top tier schools. There's definitely a difference between putting Harvard down and American Military University down. You know what I'm saying? I think
there is for some people.
And it depends on the job also. It depends on what you're getting into as well.
Yeah,
because schools are known for like, hey, SDSU has a really good geology program. So knowing that, oh, this guy got a degree in geology from SDSU, well, then that's pretty legit. Like,
hey, do you know why women make the best geologists?
What's that?
They're good at digging up the past.
I figured something along those lines.
Dun-dun.
But the big thing that when I started taking classes, what I did was I went onto USC's website and I pulled their articulation agreement so that I was only taking classes that I knew were going to transfer. I wasn't wasting time with a class that wasn't going to transfer to anybody. Because even if a school is accredited and it has a class, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to transfer to another school. Like if you decide to get out and do what I did and go to a 4-year university, it may or may not transfer.
Right. And they may or may not take everything you've done. That's what got me, because I didn't know any of this.
Yeah. So it's like, make sure, my thing is, whatever state you're going to, find the best school in that state and bounce your classes off their articulation agreement. I knew if USC was going to take these classes, then pretty much any school that I applied for here in Southern California was also going to take those classes. So that's why I was like, oh, they accept my college algebra class. Oh, they accept this English 101 or whatever.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of how I did it.
And that's the way to do it if you're going towards that goal. You definitely, but see, that's the thing that people don't know. Like I didn't know any of that. You know, I didn't know that to check to see if the classes I was taking would apply to the next school I wanted to go to.
Yeah, every school has it's called an articulation agreement. You just look it up. You can go USC articulation agreement or whatever, and it's an agreement with your school. And it says, it's a full list of classes that they will or will not accept. And it tells you that, you know, that way you can plan ahead. So,
yeah, you can tailor your class. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Because I didn't know what I was going to do when I got out. So I was like, well, I'll just start doing my general classes. But I want to make sure they transfer.
And you're right, because I made that mistake. I took something and it didn't meet it met the requirements for the associates. Yeah. I think it was a math. But in order to transfer that to your bachelor's, you actually had to take the next higher math. So that math class was basically a waste.
Yeah.
I could have just went right. Well, I couldn't have because I don't have the skills. But had I applied myself, I could have just went to that next higher math, knocked that one out, and been done with that.
Yeah.
Not having to take another one. So that was another 6 weeks of classes that I had to take.
It still happens.
By knowing that.
Even when you check, I took when I was at Miracosta. So when I got out and I started applying, if you have college credits, then most 4-year universities you can't transfer right into. You have to have a minimum amount of credits to transfer in because they want you to transfer in as a junior. Some schools will allow you to transfer in as a sophomore, but most of them want you to transfer in as a junior. So I had to take some college classes at Miracosta, and I took the business law, not advanced, what is it called? The honors class. I had to take business law, so I was like, well, I'll just take the business law honors class. It'll be better. It looks better when I want to transfer and stuff like that. And then when I got to SDSU, something changed in the articulation agreement, and I had to take business law again. Yeah, I took it, and I got an A in it in the honors class, and then I took it again at SDSU, and I will say this was during the pandemic. It was like when everything went from, we were in class at the beginning of the semester. By the end of the semester, we were all online. I didn't get an A in at that time, in the regular one, because I was just like, once school went online and I was trying to do the podcast, I was trying to run jkramergraphics.com, the different websites and stuff like that. when school went online, it became more of an annoyance than anything. It went from being something that was beneficial and I'm interacting with people and all that to that stupid Zoom meeting I have to do from this time to this time before I can get back to my regular work of doing the website and the podcast and stuff.
So it wasn't better to go online.
No, I hated it. I mean, I got it. It was like when you're in class, you're like, fuck yeah, I don't have to go to school today. I get to do it online. But after a while, it was just like, this sucks. Like doing school online definitely sucked during the pandemic.
Yeah, you got to get out and move around and do things. That's part of the whole human experience is getting out. I
told a ton of the students, I was like, dude, if the GI Bill wasn't paying for this, I would have already dropped out or like put my classes on hold because I'm not getting anything from this. Like, there's some online lectures that were okay, but a lot of times they would have you also like, hey, or watch this YouTube video and then we're going to talk about it, or watch this and then write a paper. And it's like, I can watch this shit on my own for free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My experience varies obviously because I was a liberal arts major, getting my degree in journalism and advertising. So about as far left field as you can get.
Yeah.
If I was in a STEM class, I think that would really suck trying to keep up with math and science. I don't know how they did their labs and stuff for that kind of deal, but for me as a liberal arts guy, that also thought that some of these classes I was going to be taking in advertising, like I took a class on like Photoshop and stuff like that. I thought this is a Photoshop class at a 4-year university. This is going to be like an advanced class. And dude, it was like the most basic shit. It was like, I already know how to do this.
Shit.
I already, and it was crazy how basic it was. I was like, if you could spend 30 minutes on YouTube videos and learn as much as I did in a semester and for Photoshop stuff.
That's what irks me too. It's crazy. I mean, I like the experience of getting out and going to class, because you'd meet people.
For sure.
But I'm so freaking
antisocial,
codgy.
Old?
Yeah.
Angry old man syndrome?
Yeah, like I'm walking, how you go and you register in the classes and stuff. You got to go to the school. And I'm surrounded by idiots with their face buried in their phone.
These idiots.
And, I don't know if it must be like inbred from Iraq or something, but, you never stand in the doorway.
Yeah.
That's a rule of mount. You never stand in the lane of travel. You never stand adjacent to windows or doors. People can shoot you through the door.
Yeah.
But you never stand in the lane of travel because you got to get in and get out.
Yeah.
Bad guys, you got to get in to kill the bad guys. You got to get out to get away from the bad guys. So when people got their face buried in their phone and they're standing in the goddamn doorway, and I'm super laid back, dude. I'm like, hey, man, can I get by you, please? Yeah, I try to be like super polite, and stuff. But I know it's coming out that, like, you're a fucking retard. Get out of the fucking doorway.
You're not allowed to say that kind of thing.
I know. And I wouldn't. I'm more
I know.
I'm more of a gentleman than that, but it's in my head.
Well, you run into people and you're like, really? Because I remember being at Miracosta and I was a photographer for the school paper. And we were going around. There was a article or something that we were doing that was like, it was like a man on the street kind of interview thing where you go up and ask people if they had ever had a near-death experience and talk to a couple people, hey, have you ever had a near-death experience? Yes or no? No. Okay. Next person. Yes. Okay. You want to tell us about it? I remember we went up to this one kid or this one girl and we're like, hey, have you ever had a near-death experience? And this dude next to her, who wasn't even in her conversation or ours, like turned around and was like, excuse me, shouldn't you say trigger warning before you ask that? And I'm like, what? And he's like, you should say trigger warning. That could be upsetting for them. And I'm like, how does that change anything? I'm still going to say the exact same words. You don't know what's the trigger here. Like, you don't even know. Now that may be even worse anxiety because you don't know what I'm about to say. And
that's true. You're adding to the.
Yeah, I started going back and forth with this person and this girl that's writing the actual article. I'm just there to shoot photos. She's like 18 or 19 or whatever. She's like grabbing my arm, like, it's okay. We'll just, keep. I'm like, dude, we can ask whatever questions we want, homie. I was like, we're the newspaper. That's called the First Amendment.
What's funny is my reaction, my thought when you said that story was, but like, shouldn't you say bitch before you open your mouth?
I couldn't believe someone actually said that to me in person. I was like, it was kind of surreal. Like, shouldn't you say trigger warning? Because you hear about that on like TV.
Yeah, it's a TV news thing, not a real life thing.
And the person that did it was exactly how you think. Some like massive dude, little tiny backpack on, piercings and weird hair, and
purple hair,
and it's like, get the fuck out of here, man! Like,
a hat the shape like female genitalia.
Still America. We can say what we want. You don't have to tell me the story. They don't have. It's like, I'm not even talking to you. 1 and 2. If they want to say no, I don't want to talk about it. That's fine. Then we walk away. It's not like we're harassing them. Like, tell us your story.
Yeah, you have to tell us your story, and we'll whoop your ass.
Yeah. So,
dude, that guy would not make it 3 blocks in Barrio Logan.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's my whole thing. Like, dude, you can do whatever you want. You want to be a fucking sissy? You want to paint your hair purple and dance around in fucking high heels? Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I'm open-minded dude. But don't think you can live that life without guys like us, the cops, the fireman, the plumber, the welder, the guys that are actually fucking doing shit, so you can dance around with your purple hair and your vagina hat,
Your fucking pussy hat.
Yeah. So anyways, that shit just irks me because I'm like, dude.
That's college, though, man. But I still think that people, I say it a lot on the podcast, I encourage people to use their GI Bill, to use their school benefits, because you don't have to use it just for a traditional 4-year degree. You can use it for all kinds of stuff. You can use it to go to a community college and learn stuff about, like, I still have a year's left. I said I could go get my master's degree. I've tossed around if I wanted to do that or not, but I've also considered going to one of the local community colleges and learn how to do screen printing on my own. You know what I'm saying? Because it benefits my company, because I'm making T-shirts, but I'm not making them myself. I'm paying a printer to do it. Why not learn how to do it myself and then go from, you know what I'm saying? Like,
maybe you can take out that next step.
That's how people need to look at their education benefits. You figure out a way that you can use it for yourself. Plus, you get BAH while you're doing it.
Yeah, and that's killer. Well, I have a buddy that he got out like in 91 or 92, and he used some of his benefits to get his CDL.
Oh yeah.
And
you can use it for trades and stuff too.
Oh yeah, and he didn't use the whole thing, but he got a CDL. And he said, "Dude, I have never been out of work." He got out like in, I think it was like 92 or something like that. It was right after the first Gulf War.
Yeah,
and might have been a little later. And then they moved. He was from Northern California. He went back, and then him and his wife moved to the Midwest, and then they didn't like it there, so they moved back, or they got divorced, or whatever. All these different things happened. But when I was talking to him about it, he goes, "I have never been out of work. We've moved on a whim." Like when they moved back from the Midwest, I think he was like, "Hey, I'm fucking done here, man. It's cold."
Yeah.
And he moved, and he goes, "Yeah, I got back and bam, got a job like within a week. As soon as I applied." Because those type of skills, and then my brother-in-law, he used some of his GI Bill to learn to weld.
That's cool.
Not because he wanted to be a welder, but because he wanted to be able to fix his own shit.
Yeah, it's a cool skill to have.
Yeah, and he builds all kinds of cool stuff around his house. I mean, he does stuff for friends and things like that. But it's not like he does it for a business. But
yeah, I mean, you can use your benefits in a lot of different ways like that. If people don't really understand that. That's an opportunity. Look at that as an opportunity. Yeah. I used it. I also, part of the reason I have a year worth of benefits left is because when I was taking classes, I knew I'm going to be a full-time student. So I maxed it out because the GI Bill now goes by time. It's right. 36 months of benefits. Doesn't matter if you take 40 classes in that 36 months or 120 class. Right. It's whatever you can fit, which is why I didn't take classes in the summertime, because I could only take 1 or 2 that I needed. So I was going to be wasting couple months of benefits. So I waited. And then when I was in school, I started with 4 classes and then 5 classes and then 6 classes. I was taking 6 classes at a time, which was too much.
That's fucking crazy.
I know, it was crazy. And then I backed down to 5 classes, and that's where I stayed at until I graduated. But because I did that, I filled my schedule up. I graduated on time, and then I have again, a year's worth of benefits where I can go do these things. And then once that runs out, in addition to that, you have the
VOTEC, right?
Voc Rehab, vocational rehab, where sometimes they recommend that. And this, if you want to get into Voc Rehab, I made a video on it. It's a couple years old now. You can check that out. But you should, whatever school you want to go to, contact the VA rep there and talk to them about Voc Rehab. Sometimes they recommend using your Voc Rehab before using your GI Bill. It's a different way. The benefits are similar, but also different. Yes, and you can use both.
And people got to know how to work them, because I know you can't run out of GI Bill before you use your Voc Rehab. You have to have some GI Bill left.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But at one point, people always said, "Hey, keep 6 months of GI Bill if you're going to go to Voc Rehab, because you have to have some left in order to use the other one or something."
The cool thing about Voc Rehab, like an example of when you would use Voc Rehab, is let's say I go and get my bachelor's degree in whatever, but I also need a certificate. Let's say I want to be a teacher. Well, you get your bachelor's degree, but now you got to pay for certifications. There's follow-on education you got to take and stuff like that. Well, because that's education that's required for your profession, Voc Rehab will help you pay for it sometimes. And like they'll supply, like, oh, you have to do this and it requires a computer. Well, here, we'll give you a laptop. Like they give away laptops and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's like the newest MacBook or something like that.
It doesn't matter if they give you a brand new one yesterday. It's old tomorrow,
Yeah, so
that's the problem with those things.
Yeah, I don't know. People should be doing that though, man.
Yeah,
hey, we're at about 2 hours. We should probably wrap it up a little bit. Are you still doing the surf club? You want to throw out anything?
Oh yeah.
What do you got?
Well, I've been running around like a wild man lately, so I haven't caught up with them. We just did a surf contest in Onifray like 6 weeks ago.
Where can people find the surf club information?
Let me pull it up so I can make sure I get it.
Is it correct. It's on Instagram, isn't it?
It's on Instagram. It's called The Pendleton Surf Club.
Yeah, so if you're West Coast, check that out.
Yeah, The Pendleton Surf Club. And it's military, veterans, active duty, did 4 years, doesn't matter, just
all levels of surfing, don't know how to surf, all the way to good surfing.
I super suck. I barely learned how to bottom turn, barely, and only in one direction, so I can't turn to the left like the model guy from the comedian.
Yeah. You should take that board out. That's probably perfect size for you.
It probably is. I'm down now. I'm down to my fighting weight. I'm down to 174.
Nice.
I dip into the 160s if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's something else. But we'll do the surf thing first. But yeah, so all summer long, it's going to start probably in March, I think. Every Saturday, the special needs kids take them at Oceanside Pier. Mm-hmm. So every Saturday from, I think it's 8 till noon, and you do like 2 or 3 sessions, and they bring out autistic kids or different kids that have different types of issues or needs, and you take them out, and some of them can surf, some of them are completely non-communicative, but they love being in the water, and so you take them on the surfboard and take them out there.
That's cool.
And you don't have to know how to surf.
Therapy.
You need to, it's water therapy, it's grounding, it's part of the earth, you're getting the positive ions, the whole thing. Half that is kidding and half that's real. But anyways, and you don't need to surf, but we do it as the club. We volunteer to help out.
Giving back, man. That's
cool.
Surfing
Madonna. Surfing Madonna is an organization that puts it together.
Okay.
They're out of Encinitas, I think. Carlsbad, Encinitas. And they put it together, and you never see the same kid twice. There's so many kids that have these issues that sign up for the program that even I never saw the same kid twice in 2 years of doing it.
Well, that's cool that a bunch of people are getting that experience.
Oh, it's super cool because you have like 3 guys per kid.
Yeah. One
that's actually holding the board and helping them, his helper, and then one separate person who's like a safety swimmer.
Yeah.
So, in case a wave comes in, takes the kid under, whatever.
A lot of them grab them real quick.
Yeah, a lot of them don't swim or don't have the cognitive thought process to save themselves and stuff. Some are awesome. They do it all on their own.
That's awesome.
But you don't have to do the whole 3 hours either.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll go and I'll show up at 8 and help them for like an hour. I got something else to do at 10. And then you're like, hey, I'm out, dude. And somebody else tags.
Have fun.
Or you can do all 3 hours, or you can do this Saturday, not next Saturday. Or
Well, that's cool.
You know. So that's the biggest fun event for me. Mm-hmm. Anyways, the funnest event. Then we do obviously the parade. The 4th of July parade, you know, put your stuff in there, and there's a bike ride.
Oh, really? The surf club does that too?
Yeah, you get on,
Nice.
you get your beach cruiser and you ride, you know, from Carlsbad to wherever.
Oh, yeah.
And all kinds of people. Then we do surf contests. We had one of our members passed away. Crazy dude, man. He lived across the street from me in the trailer park in San Onofre.
Oh, really?
Years ago. And dude had a badass 53 Pontiac Woody.
Those are cool.
Oh man, mechanical genius.
Yeah.
Like it had like a Miata brake booster and you know, I don't know, a Honda freaking power steering.
That's what you have to do with those old vehicles.
Yep. He had the Buick straight, or the Pontiac straight 8.
Yeah.
Badass motor, and then he had the original automatic transmission that he rebuilt. Not a mechanic. Took it apart, figured it out, rebuilt it himself.
You can do that off YouTube, you know, as long as you have the right video and the right tools. I had that 65 F100 we were talking about, I think, before the show. And a big thing on those was people would swap out the front end with like a Mustang front end.
Yeah, Mustang 2
front ends, yeah.
Yep, and now they're using, well, not now, but for a while they would use, the cop car one. Crown Vic.
Caprice. Oh, Crown Vic.
Yeah, Crown Vic suspension, or Plymouth Valari, I think, had a one that switched out with the F100 real good. I had a 53 and a 54 and a 59 F100 over the years.
That's one of those things you always find out these parts are interchangeable.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a Honda S2000 that you can basically drop a Chevy motor into.
Really?
I believe so. I believe it's that one. I could be wrong, but I believe that you can. It's almost a 1-for-1. There's some small changes you got to make, but I think the mounts and stuff line up where you can drop the LS engine into it. I could be wrong on that.
It's interesting though when you find this, because somebody had to figure this shit out.
Oh yeah.
You
Dude, good old boys, man, out there doing that shady tree mechanic stuff.
That's right. Somebody smarter than me working in their backyard under a tree with, you know.
I miss having my Evo. I used to work on it all the time.
Yeah.
I did like thousands of dollars of like work adding stuff to it. It was like running 370 horsepower by the, you know, on the dyno. I'd still have it, but when I got out of the Marines, I had North Carolina plates on it. I lived out here and I could keep those because I was in the military.
Right.
But when I got out, I had to get new plates. I had to get California ones. And to get the California ones, I had to get it smog tested. And it was way outside it would have costed me like thousands of dollars to convert it back to stock to get the smog. And I'm like, dude. So I just sold it and got the Jeep. But I miss it.
It's funny why we make those decisions, because I have a place in Oregon.
Yeah.
It's a rental property. And it makes no money. I lose like $2,200 a year on it.
Yeah.
I write it off, obviously, but I've kept it for two reasons. One, because the people that I rented to can't afford to buy it yet, and
Are you going to sell it to them?
Yeah. Well, originally it was a rent to own.
Oh, that's cool.
And they were supposed to come up with their own loan within 2 years.
There's not too many landlords that'll do that.
Yeah, and I let them. Yeah, you know, family out of like Guadalajara or somewhere, and you know, immigrant family trying to get started. And anyways, I try to hook them
you're
up.
helping them. You're trying to help them live the American dream, offering to sell them the house and everything.
Yeah, so it was rent to own, no down payment, no security deposit, nothing.
Wow.
Complete trust, right?
Such a nice guy.
Complete trust. They never got their own loan. There's some issues there just because they didn't understand the interest part of it.
Oh.
So the way where they're from, they don't borrow money from the bank.
No?
No, like everybody in the family, you need a new truck.
Everybody pulls money
Everybody
together?
puts in $100 a week, until you got $10,000. You get your 10 grand, you go get a truck.
Oh, so they all just buy everything in cash, huh?
Everybody keeps putting in, because then it's his turn to get 10 grand, then his turn. You know, I'm going to fix my living room. I need a new kitchen, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when I showed him that paper that shows all the payments and how much is interest and all that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I tried to show it to him like, hey, this is where we're at in the process. Now, this dude's getting a smoking deal. Mm-hmm. You know, I put the down payment on the house. I paid the first 10 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. No one does that.
I paid all the interest, basically.
Taxes,
all he's got left
property
is,
taxes.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you're freaking coming out ahead. All you got to do is come up with $650 a month. Make your own payment, you know? And then he's like, well, you know, and I have to go through my wife because he don't speak English that good. Or maybe he plays it, he doesn't. But anyways, long story short, it doesn't make any money, but I keep it. Because my truck's registered there, and I pay like, with the late fees and all that, I pay like $80 every 2 years for registration. Whereas if I try to get it registered here, I'd have to pay the environmental impact fee. And then
you're talking $300+ just for the registration.
Yep, my Bug is California registration. I pay more for that than I do for the truck in Oregon.
A lot of people get so I knew a guy who had a Lamborghini, or who has a Lamborghini, and those people in that kind of community, a lot of them get plates from Montana. They start an LLC in Montana on paper, and then they order plates. The vehicle, when they sell the vehicle, they actually sell their company. The vehicle comes with the company.
Okay.
And it's plated under the LLC in Montana, but they keep it here in California. It's like a whole thing to get around.
I'm gonna have to learn how to do that because
they start. It's like they start an LLC in Montana. The vehicle is sold to the company, becomes part of the company,
right.
And then when they get rid of that car, like say I want to sell you my Lamborghini, I sell you my company, and the car comes with it. Just so happens that the company is the value of the car,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, and you get the Montana plates that come with that. Here's the PO box that they're gonna send your registration to or whatever. That's one way that people get around it.
You know, if the politicians were just honest,
yeah, dude, we get ripped off so
we
much.
Wouldn't
out
have
here.
to do all that ridiculous stuff. You know, if they just did what they're supposed to do, like, hey, take my money and fix the roads and pay the cops.
Yeah.
And no, I don't need the cops don't need, you know, classes on making sure they trigger warning or whatever, and you know, I don't need a bike lane in front of all the stores where the parking used to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So one purple-haired hippie can ride his goddamn bike, you know. By the way, I just restored my son's old beach cruiser.
Nice.
So it's badass ape hangers and shit. So we built it when he was like 8 or 10. And it had been Mom's bike before, and then we tore it down. He spray painted it black, you know, put red rims on it, and white walls, and I have a Cadillac emblem that I took off the front of a '74 hearse that was abandoned in the parking lot of Margarita. Yeah,
That's
you know,
funny.
the guys used to buy hearses and party
I've
wagons.
seen somebody with a hearse before on base before. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got I put the hood ornament on there. It was badass, but I just restored it. It was been sitting in the backyard for. He's 30 something, so it's been there about 20 years.
Finally got it all back together, huh?
Yeah, I was like, you know what, I'll restore this bike, you know, blah blah blah.
I think my brother has. I believe my brother has it. We had a. I think it was a '65 Honda 125, like motorcycle.
Yeah,
You know, it was like old school motorcycle. That's what my dad taught us how to learn, or taught us how to ride motorcycles on. And I think my brother has it now, and I don't think it runs. And I always thought that'd be a cool thing to like kind of redo and stuff. They're not worth anything, I don't believe.
yeah.
You
No,
know?
this is just a
fun, cool little project, you know.
yeah. Like this was a Huffy,
Especially
you know,
when it has memories.
a
tied
Walmart
to
bike
it.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But originally, my thought process was, I'll restore it for my grandson, but he's only a year old. His son,
Yeah.
not my other grandson, who's old enough to ride it now, but. I'll restore it for him. Then I'm like, well, fuck, I'll be dead before the fucking kid's old enough to ride the damn thing. So
That's funny.
I'll restore it. I restored the emblem, and that was the gift when my son got married, because he got married in Elvis Cadillac.
Oh,
So I was like, all right, I'll restore the emblem and give it to him as the wedding gift.
yeah, that's
you know.
cool. It's something sentimental.
Yeah, to us anyways.
For sure. Yeah, that's all that matters, man. Well, dude, that's been great. Been a good conversation. It's been a while. We'll have to do another one. Everybody can check out my stuff, Former Action Guys, Former Action News on Instagram. My website is jcrimmergraphics.com. If you're looking for group orders, your unit needs new t-shirts, hoodies, and stuff like that, hit me up. If you need graphic design work, if you need digital marketing work, if you have your own website, business, stuff like that, you need to learn how to get better rankings on Google, hit me up about that. I am a digital marketing consultant, so I can help you out. But other than that, man, I really appreciate the time. Really appreciate you coming by. And I'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, sounds good, man. I enjoy this stuff. I actually get to talk about things that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
It's not like when you're at school.
Yeah, for sure.